Chapter 41, Supreme Spiritual Root, Breakthrough to the Divine Transformation Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Under the cover of night, Guan quickly shuttled through the mountains and forests. The direction he was heading was opposite to the place where he killed Lin Futian before. This time, he was preparing to break through 100 miles away. During the past month, he had observed that there were no law enforcement disciples patrolling late at night. On the way forward, lines of prompts suddenly appeared in front of Guan. You successfully captured the 6-year lifespan of bitterroot grass, level 3. You successfully captured the 7-year lifespan of bitterroot grass, level 3. Your lifespan exceeds 100,000 years for the first time, and the lifespan deduction function is enabled. Lifespan deduction, consume lifespan to deduce the cause and effect of the road and destiny. The lifespan consumed is determined according to the cause and effect deduced, lifespan deduction. Guan couldn't help but frown. He immediately smelled a conspiracy. This is to deceive his lifespan. Will his lifespan be drained out all at once? Guan decided to try it briefly first. When the new function appeared, he had a clear understanding of how to use it. The so-called deduction is actually asking questions using lifespan. Guan silently asked in his mind, lifespan deduction, does Jiang Qiong want to kill me now? About 2 breaths of time passed. It takes 300 years of life. Should we deduce it? No. Too expensive. Guan refused directly, but after such a try, he felt relieved. At least the lifespan deduction will tell him how much lifespan he needs to consume in advance, which can prevent him from being drained of lifespan all at once. Guan stopped testing and concentrated on his way. Try not to use this function as much as possible. He felt that it was not worth it for the time being to consume his life in order to explore the unknown. On the way back, Guan was very cautious and kept his consciousness away to avoid bumping into the nascent soul cultivator again. The night is lonely. Although no monsters were seen along the way, traces of wild beasts could be seen, most of which were herbivores, mostly hares and rats. About 50 miles away from Xian Valley, Guan suddenly saw the white spirit rat. In the woods, this guy was struggling with a rabbit. He was following the rabbits but, jumping along with the rabbit, and sniffing forward from time to time. It's like a big dog chasing a rabbit, so humble. Guan pretended not to see it and left quietly without disturbing Bai Ling Shu. No wonder this guy keeps running out and moves like a rabbit. Guan recalled the scene he just saw and couldn't laugh or cry. Bai Ling Shu was raised crookedly, but fortunately he still had Haolong. Thinking of Haolong's majestic figure, Guan's mood improved. After half a stick of incense, Guan came to a dense forest. The leaves were so densely intertwined that even if there was someone flying above, he could not be seen. Guan sat meditating under a big tree. He took a deep breath and called up his attribute panel. He looked at his lifespan of 100,003 years with a look of expectation on his face. With a lifespan of 100,000 years, he is definitely considered wealthy. This time, he can improve his various attributes. Let's improve the spiritual roots first. You can invest a little more. After all, this thing is the most difficult to improve. How many years is a good investment? Guan hesitated for a moment and decided to be bold and come directly to 10,000 years. You invest 10,000 years of life into your spiritual roots to evolve and practice. You have understood the nature of heaven and earth for 100 years, and your perception of the 5 elements spiritual roots has improved. You have understood the nature of heaven and earth for 200 years, and your perception of the 5 elements spiritual roots has improved. You have been perceiving the nature of heaven and earth for 2,000 years, and finally captured a trace of the true meaning of heaven and earth. Your spiritual roots have been baptized by heaven and earth. Your 5 elements spiritual root qualifications have begun to transform. All your 5 elements spiritual root qualifications have transformed into first-class qualities of the mortal body, among which wood and earth are the most important. The spiritual roots are more prominent. You have understood the nature of heaven and earth for 4,000 years, and your perception of the 5 elements spiritual roots has improved. You have understood the nature of heaven and earth for 5,000 years, you feel the profound meaning of the 5 elements between heaven and earth, the resonance of heaven and earth. Your spiritual root qualifications have undergone a qualitative change, and your 5 elements spiritual roots have transformed into the 5 elements heavenly spiritual roots. you have understood the nature of heaven and earth for 8,000 years, and finally captured a trace of the wood spirit law of heaven and earth. Your wood attribute spiritual root has undergone transformation and transformed into the top-grade wood attribute heavenly spirit root. You have understood the nature of heaven and earth for 10,000 years, and your perception of the 5 elements spiritual roots has improved. Lines of prompts popped up crazily, there were dozens of them, and Guan didn't dare to blink. When the last prompt popped up, he immediately activated the lifespan barrier. In an instant, the grass under his feet glowed with fluorescence, and even the trees behind him emitted a little green light, and the area within the barrier was suddenly illuminated. 5 elements heavenly spiritual root. Guan suddenly became excited. The Tianling root is the strongest spiritual root he has ever heard of so far. Not even Ji Xiaoyu from the Ji family can compare with it. Tianling roots often have a single attribute, but the speed at which this single attribute can be cultivated is by no means comparable to that of 2 spiritual roots. It can even be said to be worlds apart. According to what Li Yi said, Tianlingyan is the darling of heaven and earth. It can only be born if there is good luck in the sky, or only through the efforts of generations of thousands of aristocratic families, can they have the opportunity to give birth to such spiritual roots. There is currently only one Tianlingyan monk in the Daozang dynasty, who is in Xiantian sect. Li Yi did not say who he was. Guan suspected that Li Xiandao also had Tianlingyan, but he hid it very well. While Guan was thinking, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth began to flow into his body, making him feel itchy all over and at the same time have an indescribable sense of comfort. Let's spend another 10,000 years. With a long life, Guan suddenly felt that 10,000 years was nothing, so, he once again invested 10,000 years of life into his spiritual roots, prompting each line, and madness appeared in front of him. Spiritual root perception is improved. Spiritual root perception is improved. Guan looked at the same prompts, and his heart began to tremble. Something is wrong. It's bad. It's a big disaster. Until 5,000 years, his earth spiritual root transformed into a top-grade heavenly spiritual root. The next 5,000 years were all about the improvement of spiritual root perception, like a bottomless pit, which lasted until the end. Guan's heart was bleeding. He practiced the divine wood pure Yang Gong, which was enough to rely on the wood spiritual root. In other words, the investment in the next 10,000 years would not increase his practice speed again. Spiritual roots are destined at birth. In reality, no one has heard of the practice method of improving spiritual roots. It is incredible that he can reach the 5 elements heavenly spiritual root from ordinary 5 spiritual roots. No. Krypton again. Can't let this 10,000 years of life go to waste. Guan gritted his teeth and invested another 10,000 years of life. Another prompt popped up quickly, and Guan's face had turned black. After 10,000 years, the fire spirit root transformed into a top-grade heavenly spirit root. It wouldn't take 10,000 years to improve one spirit root, right? Guan invested another 10,000 years of life into the spirit root, and more heaven and earth spirit energy flowed into his body. Now there were more gray and red light spots around him. After dozens of prompts, Guan's water spirit root transformed into a top-grade heavenly spirit root. Will there be a qualitative change if the 5 elements are complete? Guan continued to invest 10,000 years of life. In the end, his gold spirit root also transformed into a top-grade heavenly spirit root. In the attribute panel, the spirit root column directly changed to a top-grade 5-element heavenly spirit root. Guan looked at his lifespan and his eyes became dull. 50,000 years of lifespan was gone just like that. After getting high, Guan felt an unprecedented emptiness in his heart. The earth spirit energy poured into his body crazily, and his body fell into a strange state, itchy and warm, but without any discomfort. Countless stars of light floated around him. Fire was red. Wood was green, water was blue, gold was yellow, and soil was gray, like a galaxy, dazzling and dazzling. Guan was in a trance, his thoughts were confused. Time passed quickly. An hour later, Guan completed the transformation of his spiritual roots, and he only felt that the whole world had become brand new. This sudden impact of perception refreshed him. This feeling was so wonderful. He suddenly felt that the investment of 50,000 years of life was not a loss. The top-grade 5-element spiritual roots were enough to be proud of the Daozang dynasty. As for the entire world, he couldn't say. After all, he didn't know how big this world was. Guan took a deep breath and looked at the skills in the attribute panel. Do you want a Krypton skills? He was afraid that after the skills were upgraded to a certain stage, the subsequent investment would become higher than expected, not to mention that he already had the top-grade 5-element spiritual roots, and his Yangmu Hunyuan Gong was not bad. He kept laying the foundation. How long would it take? Tomorrow, a demon cultivator from the God transformation realm might jump out to ambush him. Start cultivating right away. Brand new spiritual roots, don't let me down. Let's start with 10,000 years. Cultivation is the most important thing and worth investing heavily in. Start investing. You invest 10,000 years of your life in your cultivation to practice evolution. You have been cultivating for 10 years, and you forcefully impact the God transformation realm with the great attainments of the divine wood pure Yang Gong, and begin to transcend the tribulation. You did not survive the 5 elements of the heavenly tribulation, and failed to transcend the tribulation. You have been cultivating for 100 years, and you forcefully impact the God transformation realm with the great attainments of the divine wood pure Yang Gong, and begin to transcend the tribulation. You did not survive the 5 elements of the heavenly tribulation, and failed to transcend the tribulation. Looking at the continuous reminders of failed tribulation, Guan's face was calm. He could accept transcending the tribulation once every 100 years, he didn't believe that he could fail 100 times. Fortunately, the situation was not as bad as he thought. You have been practicing Qi for 2,700 years. You have used your great accomplishments in the pure Yang technique of the divine tree to forcibly break through to the transformation realm and begin to overcome the tribulation. You have survived the 5 elements tribulation, overcome the tribulation successfully, and broken through to the first level of the transformation realm. You have been practicing Qi for 3,000 years. Your cultivation has broken through to the second level of the transformation realm. You have been practicing Qi for 3,200 years. Your cultivation has broken through to the third level of the transformation realm. You have been practicing Qi for 3,400 years. Your cultivation has broken through to the fourth level of the transformation realm. You have been practicing Qi for 3,700 years. Your cultivation has broken through to the fourth level of the transformation realm, breaking through to the fifth level of the transformation realm. You have been cultivating for 5,000 years, and your cultivation has broken through to the ninth level of the transformation realm. You have been cultivating for 5,200 years, and you have used the great attainments of the divine wood pure Yang Gong to forcibly impact the transmigration realm and began to transcend the tribulation. You did not survive the Xianyu heavenly tribulation and failed to transcend the tribulation. You have been cultivating for 6,400 years, and you have used the great attainments of the divine wood pure Yang Gong to forcibly impact the transmigration realm and began to transcend the tribulation. You did not survive the Xianyu heavenly tribulation and failed to transcend the tribulation. Okay, it's failing again. Transmigration once every 200 years, Guan can accept it. At the same time, he was thinking about a problem. The spiritual root aptitude does not seem to determine the probability of successfully transcending the tribulation. Could it be that one's own strength is the key to transcending the tribulation? Spells, magical powers, formations, secret methods, magic tools, etc. You have been practicing Qi for 9,600 years. You used the great attainments of Yangmu Hunyuan Gong to forcefully impact the realm of crossing the void and began to cross the tribulation. You did not survive the mysterious heavenly tribulation and failed to cross the tribulation. You have been practicing Qi for 9,800 years. You used the great attainments of Yangmu Hunyuan Gong to forcefully impact the realm of crossing the void and began to cross the tribulation. You survived the mysterious heavenly tribulation and successfully crossed the tribulation. Your cultivation level broke through to the first level of the realm of crossing the void. You have been practicing Qi for 10,000 years. Your cultivation level has increased. Guan called up his attribute panel. He still had nearly 40,000 years of life left, which made the corners of his mouth rise, thanks to Shi, Nafanai for the 1,500 Qijian coins, and the novice who doesn't understand literature for the 100 Qijian coins. Happy weekend. Please give me monthly votes, recommendation votes, and follow-up reading. Chapter 42, breaking through the void realm, the demon lord attacks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan did not continue to cultivate. He wanted to wait until he reached the first level of the crossing void realm. He was afraid that it would take too long to absorb the spiritual energy, and it would not be finished until dawn. If the disciples found out that he was not in the valley, it would be troublesome. As the prompts fell one after another, Guan clearly felt that the spiritual energy in the earth was surging up crazily, with a bang. The ground rose up like a wild wave of spiritual energy, blowing his robe up, and even his black hair was blown messy. His body was not blown away, because the spiritual energy had penetrated into his body, like a chain tying him to the ground. This time, the movement of swallowing spiritual energy was far greater than the previous breakthrough of the nascent soul realm. The ground under Guan was even shaking. He secretly thanked that fortunately there was a life barrier, otherwise his cultivation could not be hidden at all, but he suddenly became worried. Would such a movement affect Xiantian sect? After the life barrier was opened, the spiritual energy was not born from the void, but was drawn from the ground. The spiritual energy drawn was naturally the spiritual energy of Xiantian sect. Guan had a new guess. Will the speed of his cultivation in the evolution of life be related to the richness of the spiritual energy in the current environment? He felt it was very likely, because he thought of Li Xiandao, who was 230 years old and in the 8th level of the transformation realm, which was too incredible. Thinking carefully, there was a huge gap between him and Li Xiandao. If Li Xiandao also had a natural spiritual root, his advantage would be far beyond what Guan could compare. As an emperor of a dynasty, Li Xiandao could have the highest level cave, could enjoy the best cultivation elixir of a dynasty, and his skills must be top-notch. In addition, there were formations, magic tools, etc. Perhaps this was also the reason why Li Xiandao could quickly pass the tribulation. When Zhuo Yijian passed the tribulation before, there were many cultivators raiding the formation. Others were fully prepared for the tribulation, but he was just holding on in the evolutionary cultivation. In reality, if he died, his body would be gone, and there would be no chance to repeat it once every 200 years. If we compare evolutionary cultivation with Li Xiandao, Guan seems to be very inferior, but we can't compare them like this. In fact, Guan is at the first level of the crossing void realm at the age of 34. Can he, Li Xiandao, reach the crossing void realm before the age of 300? Is there anyone else in the world who can practice naked, hard, and withstand the heavenly tribulation like him? When Guan thought about it, he felt much more balanced. After all, the lifespan invested in cultivation is just a number, and the actual cultivation is real. At the same time, he was wondering if he should practice other attribute exercises, or find a 5-element exercise to practice, so that he might be able to better exert the potential of the top-grade 5-element heavenly spiritual roots. Rumble, the sound of the earth's spiritual energy pouring into his body became louder and louder, and a cyclone had formed in the barrier, and the 5-color spiritual energy was about to submerge his figure. The dark cloud surged, gradually covering the bright moon. In a mansion, in a small pavilion, there is an oil lamp on the table. Zhuo Yijian, with white hair, sits on a chair beside the table, holding a book in his hand. The 4 words investiture of the gods can be vaguely seen. The golden light on the top is divided into 5 colors, the red lotus under the feet is chasing thousands of miles, the 8 diagram fairy clothes are purple, and the 3-edged sword is called Qingping. Zhuo Yijian muttered, with a look of aftertaste on his face. He has been obsessed with the investiture of the gods for several years. Reading the investiture of the gods over and over again always gives him new gains. Although there is no method of cultivation in this book, the immortal magic described in it makes him fascinated. He feels that there is morality hidden in this book, but he can't see through it for the time being. At this moment, Zhuo Yijian seemed to feel something, and suddenly turned over and looked at the ground. The night was lonely and the cold wind was howling. The sound of the wind was getting louder. The oil lamp and candle on the table were shaking more and more violently, as if they would go out at any time. Not only him, but also cultivators from all directions flew out of their respective mansions and courtyards, and more outer disciples gathered in the sky above the city. What's going on? The spiritual energy is sinking. You feel it too. Will there be no demon invasion? It shouldn't be the case. This is Xiantian sect. Who dares to die? Could it be that there is a large formation being activated underground, that the outer disciples were talking about it? Yilan also flew out of her yard on a sword. She looked nervously at the outer street. The night was dark, and a steady stream of cultivators flew into the air. Those miscellaneous disciples who didn't know how to fly a sword gathered on the street. All of them were panicked. Everyone could feel the spiritual energy sinking underground. They had never encountered such a situation before, so they were naturally panicked. What made them most uneasy was that the spiritual energy was sinking faster and faster, and the spiritual energy in the outer city was quickly becoming thinner. The spiritual energy is the top priority of a sect, and the foundation of a large sect includes the spiritual energy. In the forest, Guan has entered the spiritualization realm. The nascent soul in his body emerges from his body and floats above his head. The nascent soul can be condensed in the nascent soul realm, but the nascent soul cannot leave the body at ordinary times. Once it leaves the body, it will cut off the connection with the physical body. Therefore, the nascent soul will only leave the body when it is on the verge of death and look for a new physical body to take over. The spiritualization realm can make the nascent soul transform into the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit is equivalent to a manifestation of the soul. The primordial spirit leaving the body is a special method of the spiritualization realm. The primordial spirit leaving the body will not cut off the connection with the physical body. Under the spiritualization realm, the primordial spirit cannot be seen unless the primordial spirit appears by itself. When the primordial spirit is conceived from the primordial spirit, the spiritual consciousness of the cultivator will also undergo earth-shaking changes. Guan was immersed in this change. His nascent soul gradually turned into a green lotus, and then bloomed. His nascent soul slowly stood up from it, looking exactly like him, even showing his clothes. The realm of transformation into gods is not the end yet. Guan is still trying to reach a higher realm, and the spiritual energy he is devouring is getting larger and larger. He notices that the mountains and forests outside the barrier also begin to tremble slightly. This made him more nervous. There's too much movement. Guan did not dare to use his soul to fly out of the lifespan barrier, fearing that he would encounter a monk in the realm of transformation to explore this area. Xiantian sect must have monks at the spiritual transformation realm. After all, some powerful elders from the outer sect can reach the nascent soul realm, not to mention the inner sect and the main city of the sect. He even suspected that Talisman was hiding the realm of crossing the void. Otherwise, why would Li Xiandao, who was at the 8th level of the realm of transformation, hide his cultivation? Time continues to pass. An hour later, Guan's cultivation had reached the 9th level of the God transformation realm. Two figures suddenly passed by in the night sky. When he saw the true appearance of each other with his naked eyes, he immediately threw away the lifespan detection. Good guy. 2 Yuanying realm monks. Guan became even more nervous and could only pray that no one noticed this forest. The lifespan barrier can prevent the outside world from seeing him, but he is afraid that someone will just walk by here. After that, powerful monks continued to pass by from above, and the lowest cultivation level was in the nascent soul realm. It didn't take long for him to see figures in the realm of gods, and there were more than one. Guan felt like he was breaking through the sky. The key was that he was approaching the realm of crossing the void, and the spiritual energy he needed was even greater. This night was destined to be restless. It wasn't until dawn that Guan's cultivation level slowed down, the first level of crossing the void realm. After reaching the realm of crossing the void, the soul can travel thousands of miles away, and spiritual power, spiritual consciousness, perception, and blood will all be greatly enhanced. Guan stood up slowly. The sun broke through the sky, shining all the way into the lifespan barrier and falling on him. He seemed to be covered with a layer of clouds. He looked at the rising sun with a smile on his face. The spiritual power in his body was extremely huge, giving him a feeling of omnipotence. He closed the lifespan barrier and walked toward Xuangu. The lifespan barrier alone has consumed nearly 2,000 years, which is enough to show how big the movement was last night. With the end of his breakthrough, the world returned to normal, but the aura in the mountains and forests was far less than it was yesterday. Even Guan, who was in the void realm, couldn't estimate how much spiritual energy he had absorbed last night. On the way back, Guan saw the great monks flying across the sky again. From last night to now, he had seen 7 great monks in the transformation of God realm, which made him sigh at the depth of the Xiantian sect. he quickly returned to Xuangu, then walked out of the attic and called on his disciples to practice. Master, did you feel the spiritual energy suddenly sank last night? Yi Yan asked. Speaking of this, he couldn't help but frown. Other disciples spoke one after another, they also felt it, and they were very worried, fearing that the Xian Valley would suddenly collapse. Guan smiled and said, "This is Talisman, the safest place in Daozang dynasty, how could it collapse?" That when the disciples heard this, their worries dissipated a lot. Wu Xian guessed, it may be related to some kind of formation. It is estimated that there is a great monk in the door who needs a huge amount of spiritual energy to break through. Obviously, he had met him in Xiantian Pavilion, but he just couldn't tell him. Master, why do I feel something is different about you today? Xiantian stared at Guan and asked curiously. Guan rolled his eyes at her and said angrily, "You feel that I have changed every day, and you want to ask me to teach you the leg posture, please be direct." The other disciples couldn't help but laugh, and Xiantian also smiled sheepishly. The training officially began, and Guan was familiar with his new spiritual power during the training. After it was over, Guan did not go back to the house, but walked towards the nearby mountains and forests. This time, in order to make a breakthrough, he squeezed a lot of medicinal herbs. The harvest in the next 2 years will be affected. He can only open up wasteland and expand more parks. Well, the great monk of the Dushu realm will plant flowers and grass for you, Taishan sect, be content. Guan thought happily in his heart that when he entered the forest, another monk flew by in the sky. This reassured the disciples in the valley that at least Talisman was indeed paying attention to this matter and would not ignore them. Until noon, Yilan returned to Xuangu. After chatting for a while, she got rid of the crowd of disciples and followed Guan to the attic. After closing the door, she went to close the window. Not only that, she also took out the talisman and stuck it on the door and window. Guan looked at her nervously and asked, "Junior sister, what do you want to do?" What to do? To obey or not to obey? After taking all the isolation measures, Yilan just came to the table and sat down. While pouring herself tea, she said, "Brother, something big has happened, maybe the devil is about to attack." Guan was stunned for a moment, then sat down and asked curiously, "Who is the demon lord? What sect does he come from?" Chapter 43. Do you know what realm is above the state of transformation? You are listening at novelfull.audio. My master guesses that the demon king of Jia from Tianju's sect is coming soon. Yilan said seriously. Guan frowned and asked, "Why do you speculate like this?" The spiritual energy of the outer sect was drained last night, and it even affected the inner sect. In addition, Lin Futian of Huanin sect was killed by Fei Sword Immortal some time ago. All these deeds come together to prove that the devil is preparing to besiege Taishan sect. Draining the spiritual energy of the outer sect is the first step in their plan. Looking at the demonic path, only the Jia demon lord of Tianju's sect can do this. It is said that his sky-swallowing demon technique can make the life of 1,000 miles away disappear. Yilan said this. As he spoke, there was a look of fear in his eyes. Guan choked a little. He was the one who killed Lin Futian, and he was also responsible for what happened last night. Did Mo Dao take the blame for him? Although Guan passively became the master of Xiantian Pavilion, he never considered himself a demon cultivator. He thought for a while and comforted, "Junior sister, don't worry, there will be tall people to hold up the sky when it falls." Talisman is the #1 sect in the Daozang dynasty. Even if the devil attacks, how difficult is it to shake Talisman? Yilan took a deep breath and looked at Guan with a pair of eyes, a look of determination in her eyes. She gritted her teeth and said, "Brother, let's fly far away. I am now at the foundation establishment level. Let's hide in the uninhabited mountain forest. Xianxiu, I will help you build your foundation." Guan almost couldn't hold himself tight. "Good guy, do you want to take this opportunity to make a private appointment with me for life?" Guan said helplessly, "Junior sister, you are exaggerating, and there is no absolutely safe place in this world. If you hide in the mountains and encounter a demon cultivator in the Dan Formation realm, how will you and I deal with it? And you are just guessing. I don't think it's possible for the devil to attack. If the demon Dao really plans to besiege Talisman, is it time to do it now? It has made so much noise but has been slow to take action. Could it be that it is giving Teixuman time to summon the great monks outside? That when Yilan heard this, she felt it made sense. She thought for a while and said, "How about you follow me to the outer door to avoid the limelight?" Daoyan said seriously, "Junior sister, you really don't have to worry about me. Don't let me affect your practice. Just remember, if it's really for my own good, then work hard to become stronger and take care of me in the future. This is also for your own good. If those who cultivate immortality do not attach importance to cultivating immortality, sooner or later they will encounter a time when they are unable to do anything." Yilan was ashamed and felt that she was indeed a little anxious. "Senior brother, I am currently at the 9th level of the Qi cultivation realm. It is not that easy for ordinary demon cultivators to kill me," Guan said with a proud smile. After hearing this, Yilan laughed out loud. She quickly covered her mouth and said, "Brother, how can the demon cultivator who dares to sneak into Taixian sect be at the Qi training realm? Lin Futian, who died before, is said to be at the nascent soul realm." "Old weirdo." Guan snorted, "What? The Yuanying realm old monster doesn't need to take action to kill me?" Yes, senior brother is the most powerful." Yilan smiled, and the tension in his heart was diluted. Later, Guan asked about the situation at the outer door, and Yilan didn't hide anything and came one by one. It wasn't until evening that Guan said goodbye to her. Originally, he planned to improve his cultivation and spells tonight, but when he heard that the outer sect was already in preparation for war, he did not dare to mess around and wanted to avoid the limelight first. He still had a doubt in his mind: if the nearby spiritual energy is drained and he continues to break through, what will be the consequences? It is estimated that the lifespan barrier will swallow up the spiritual energy from farther away. In this case, the Taixian sect will be completely unable to sit still. For the next 3 days, Guan stayed in Xian Valley and did not even go to Baiying Cave. Haolong has already begun to practice. It's okay not to eat meat for many days. Moreover, he has prepared a batch of ripe tsang vine fruits in advance so that he can eat them when he is hungry. Guan has a soul resonance with Haolong, so it can remember everything he asks. Since its birth, it has never caused any trouble for him, and it is a child that makes him feel at ease. This night, Guan was reading a book in the attic. He had the best 5 elements heavenly spiritual root and could absorb all the spiritual energy within a 10 feet radius with just one sip, and the efficiency of converting it into spiritual power was extremely high. Because the spiritual energy of the outer sect was still recovering, it was difficult for him to practice and he had been restrained. Suddenly, Guan felt something and his eyes changed slightly. He did not get up, but continued reading. A moment later, a figure appeared outside his window. The man quietly opened the window and jumped in. Guan immediately threw a lifespan test. Fu Xiong, 2nd floor of Foundation Establishment Realm 160/198/240. After encountering Empress Li Xiandao and Lin Futian, Guan relied more on lifespan detection. After all, there were too many old men in the world of immortality. Fu Xiong looked about 50 years old, not tall, and was dressed in black. His eyes were dark and eagle-like, giving him the impression of a deep city. He stood up, looked at Guan, and asked, "Are you the Valley Master?" Guan frowned and asked, "I am. Who are you?" Fu Xiong did not answer, but looked at him. After a few breaths passed, he suddenly said, "Qian Qiu Tsangteng has no regrets." Guan was silent. His consciousness had already dispersed, and he was sure that Fu Xiong came alone. He reluctantly responded, "It is difficult to find the root of all things that are dead and silent." Hearing this, Fu Xiong's expression softened. He walked to the table and sat down, as if he had returned to his own home. While pouring himself tea, he asked, "Where is Qing Xiandan? Is he dead?" Guan nodded and said, "Master has left. I wonder why Senior wants to see me. Do you know the whereabouts of the cane tree?" Fu Xiong drank a cup of tea and then asked. As he spoke, his eyes scanned the room. In addition to books, this room is filled with various herbs wrapped in soul-protecting paper. Guan saw that he didn't seem to really care about the Kangvine tree, so he asked, "What is the Kangvine tree?" Upon hearing this, Fu Xiong withdrew his gaze, looked at Guan again, and asked, "Didn't your master tell you?" Guan shook his head and said no. The Kangvine tree is the sacred tree of our Xiantian pavilion. As early as more than 200 years ago, our pavilion sent someone to bring a Kangvine tree to the outer gate of Taishan sect. However, it took a long time and the clues were interrupted. We know exactly where the Daozang tree is hidden, Fu Xiong said with a frown, came here more than 200 years ago. Guan frowned and thought to himself, could Jiang Qiong be hiding something from him? Fu Xiong sighed and said, to be honest, my master is about to break through to the realm of divine transformation. It is too dangerous to overcome the tribulation. I want to find the Kangvine fruit to help him. Upon hearing this, Guan asked curiously, what is the state of becoming a god? Above the foundation is the pill formation, and above that is the nascent soul. Above the nascent soul is the soul transformation. Fu Xiong pinched his beard and smiled, as if he was the one who was about to break through the soul transformation. Is it dangerous for a Yuanying realm monk to survive a tribulation? I heard that Yuanying is already equivalent to an immortal. Gu An's tone was shocked. What kind of immortal? It's still early. From building the foundation to forming the core, you also need to overcome tribulations. All tribulations are very dangerous. It can be said to be a life of 9 deaths. The higher the realm, the more dangerous the thunder tribulation. My master has been preparing for 10 years to overcome the tribulation. Fu Xiong said with a look of yearning on his face. Guan asked, what do I need to prepare? Can't we directly overcome the tribulation? How is it possible? To overcome the tribulation, you must prepare elixirs to maintain your spiritual power and heal your injuries. You must also have formations to maintain the stalemate. You must prepare several sets of magic weapons. I have never heard of anyone being able to directly overcome the tribulation. Fu Xiong glared at Guan, feeling that his question was too stupid. Guan felt much relieved after hearing this. Fu Xiong suddenly smiled and said, I see that you have a lot of medicinal herbs in the Medicine Valley. Why don't you accept me as your teacher? From now on, I will support you and teach you spells. How about you pay me 30% of the harvest of the Medicine Valley every year? Guan frowned again. Fu Xiong whispered, boy, my master, your master, is in the inner sect. When he breaks through to become a god, he will definitely become an elder. By then, you can get whatever you want. Guan's eyes widened and he asked in surprise, Senior's master can become an inner sect elder. Doesn't that mean that he has been lurking for many years? Why doesn't he know the whereabouts of the Kangvine tree? It's a long story. Let's talk about becoming a disciple first. Fu Xiong said solemnly. Guanqi asked, but what does senior master mean? How is it possible that my master doesn't even know that I'm here in this Medicine Valley? Boy, you are just a handyman disciple. How can my master notice you? Fu Xiong was very unhappy. Guan stood up, looked down at him, and asked, one last question. Fu Xiong frowned and said in a deep voice, what's the problem? He really wanted to beat the kid in front of him to death, he was talking so much nonsense. Do you know what the realm is beyond becoming a god? What? Fu Xiong was stunned for a moment, then became furious. He didn't know the realm beyond the transformation of gods. He felt that the other party was playing tricks on him. Just as he was about to stand up, Guan's right hand was already on his head. He raised his eyes and saw that Guan's face was so cold, his eyes flashed with cold light, and his whole temperament suddenly changed. At this moment, Fu Xiong felt as if he was facing his master. No, his master is not so scary. He wanted to open his mouth, but his consciousness quickly fell into a blank, and his eyes went blank. Guan is using the soul-catching technique. He had never been able to master the soul-catching technique before, but now that he has the best 5 elements heavenly spiritual root, he can figure it out as soon as he gets started. Maybe not skilled, but enough to deal with Fu Xiong. His spiritual power suppressed Fu Xiong, and his spiritual consciousness forced his way into Fu Xiong's mind, searching arbitrarily. Half an hour later, Fu Xiong had died. Guan opened his eyes again and breathed a sigh of relief. This guy really doesn't know the whereabouts of the Daozang tree, and his master didn't send him here. Guan moved his right hand upwards and lifted Fu Xiong into the air. Spiritual fire burst out from his palm and began to burn the opponent. He closed his eyes, not daring to look at this cruel scene. The spiritual fire in the realm of crossing the void is so powerful that in less than 4 breaths, Fu Xiong turned into ashes, leaving only a storage bag. He successfully took away 4 years of life. Guan checked it and took out all the medicinal materials and spiritual stones inside. As for the magical artifacts and talismans, he did not dare to touch them and burned them directly along with the storage bag to prevent anyone from tracking them here. Early the next morning, Guan went downstairs like a normal person. When the disciples gathered to practice, he felt secretly guilty. Oops, I'm acting like a demon. This continued until a month later, when no Qianqiu pavilion monk came to see Guan again, and he felt relieved. On this day, Di suddenly came to see him, and the two had an interview in the attic. The third young lady has mastered the Qilin step. The clan leader is very happy and is going to celebrate the third young lady. At the same time, a banquet will be held at the inner gate. I, a servant of the Ji family, must attend and help welcome the guests. 10 days later, I will wait in front of the outer gate's law enforcement hall. You, prepare a batch of medicinal herbs in the next few days and use them as gifts when the time comes. Maybe they will be appreciated by the third lady, Di said seriously. Guan nodded, making a decision in his heart. Let's go all out tonight. Look at how powerful the Qilin step Ji Xiaoyu has learned. Thanks to the one-way ticket for giving 500 Qijian coins, the only one who wants to be free gave 100 Qijian coins, the fish that can't blow bubbles gave 100 Qijian coins, the fierce dragon gave 100 Qijian coins, and the book friend 202307111913099972 gave 100 Qijian coins. A new week has begun, and I'm asking for monthly tickets and recommendation tickets to rush to the new book list. The day before yesterday, there were more than 7,000 people following the book, and now there should be 8,000. If everyone casts a recommendation ticket, it will become popular. Seeing this, click on the next page to see where you rank in the following reading, and add the following reading data to this book. Chapter 44, Divine Power Reaches the Pinnacle, Teleportation Formation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Di came and left quickly. Guan could feel his excitement, as if he really thought his last name was Ji. Guan was also very interested in the inner gate. It was a good thing that he could go to the inner gate this time by taking advantage of the Ji family banquet. He planned to prepare more spiritual stones in the next few days, and then he could purchase some in the inner gate. Until night fell, Guan quietly left Xian Valley, in the opposite direction of the place where he broke through before, and stopped after walking about 50 miles. He sat in front of the mountain wall and called up the attribute panel. He looked directly at the 8 direction step and invested 5,000 years of life in it. This is a footwork, which is not only helpful in fighting, but also in running, and must be improved. As his thoughts fell, a line of prompts popped up. You have devoted 5,000 years of your life to the evolution of the 8 direction step. You have practiced the 8 direction step for 1 year, and you have successfully mastered the 8 direction step. You have practiced the 8 direction step for 10 years, and your understanding of the 8 direction step has reached its peak, and your understanding of the body movement has been improved. You have practiced the 8 direction step for 50 years, and you have gained an understanding of the 8 direction step, and your 8 direction step has been promoted to the 8 directions mysterious step. You have practiced the 8 direction step for 100 years, and your understanding of the 8 directions mysterious step has reached its peak. And your understanding of the body movement has been improved. You have practiced the 8 directions step for 300 years, and your 8 directions mysterious step has returned to its original state, and you have captured the true meaning of the silk space. Your 8 directions mysterious step is promoted to the Kirin step. You practiced the 8 directions step for 1,000 years, your Kirin step returned to its original state. Your understanding of body skills and space was improved, and your Kirin step was promoted to the heavenly Dragon mysterious step. You practiced the 8 directions step for 4,000 years, and your persistent practice finally got the induction of heaven and earth. Your heavenly dragon mysterious step broke through the limit and was promoted to the infinite and traceless mysterious step. You practiced the 8 directions step for 5,000 years, your infinite and traceless mysterious step reached the state of perfection, and your understanding of space was improved. 8 directions Step, 8 directions mysterious step, Kirin step, heavenly dragon mysterious step, infinite and traceless mysterious step. Guan was secretly excited, and at the same time a large amount of memories began to flow into his mind. He quickly opened the life barrier and then immersed himself in the inheritance. Half an hour later, Guan opened his eyes. He first looked at the life barrier, which only consumed 200 years of life. Although the inherited skills and spells will not improve the cultivation, it is still necessary to absorb spiritual energy. After all, in the evolutionary cultivation, no matter what you practice, you are in a spiritual environment. Compared with the previous breakthrough to the realm of crossing the void, the spiritual energy he absorbed this time is not much. Guan looked at the attribute panel again and fell into thought. The cultivation must be improved, but he has been hiding from the limelight recently and it is not easy to do anything. Moreover, he wants to improve the skills first and then improve the cultivation. He plans to go to the inner gate to see if there are any 5-element skills. If there is no good choice, he will grit his teeth and go all the way with the Yangmu Hunyuan Gong. After thinking for a moment, Guan decided to Krypton the Qianqiu Pavilion secret method taught by Jiang Qiong, the demon shadow divine art. Jiang Qiong said that this secret method is very suitable for being a spy, and he wants to see how it is suitable. A small Krypton, just invest 2,000 years of life. You have devoted 2,000 years of your life to the evolution of the magic shadow art. You have practiced the magic shadow art for 10 years, and you have initially mastered the magic shadow art. You have practiced the magic shadow art for 100 years, and your magic shadow art has reached the realm of perfection, and your speed of performing the magic shadow art has increased. You have practiced the magic shadow art for 200 years, and your magic shadow art has reached its peak, and your understanding of body skills has been improved. You have practiced the magic shadow art for 500 years, and your magic shadow art has returned to its original state and has been promoted to the free magic body art. You have practiced the magic shadow art for 1,000 years, and your free magic body art has reached its peak, and your understanding of body skills and cause and effect has been improved. You have practiced the magic shadow art for 1,300 years, and your free magic body art has returned to its original state and has been promoted to the great yin and yang transformation. You have practiced the magic shadow art for 2,000 years, and your great yin and yang transformation has reached its peak, and your understanding of body skills and cause and effect has been improved. Magic shadow art, free magic body art, great yin and yang transformation. He only got promoted twice. It seems that this secret technique is not simple. Jiang Qiong did not deceive him. Guan immediately opened the life barrier and fell into the inheritance with his consciousness. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes, with a look of surprise in his eyes. This secret technique is indeed very suitable for being a spy. The magic shadow god function allows the caster to be covered with magic energy, forming a magic shadow. Even the consciousness cannot penetrate it. The big yin and yang changes are even more exaggerated and cannot be forcibly removed. The caster can maintain the magic shadow state until death, and will not reveal his true body after death. The most important thing is that this technique cannot be deduced, and even magic tools and magic treasures cannot reflect its true body, too domineering. With this skill, Guan can do a lot of things in the future, especially with the infinite and traceless Xiantian step. It is even more invincible. The infinite and traceless Xiantian step already has the mystery of the magical power of moving, and each step can step out the Dharma image, which can be avoided or attacked. With endless mysteries, Guan readjusted his attribute panel with a satisfied look on his face. Name, Guan. Lifespan, 34/30823. Spiritual roots, top grade 5-element heavenly spiritual roots. Cultivation, first level of the crossing void realm. Kung Fu techniques, fire control technique, not yet mastered, divine. Wood pure yang technique, mastered, Xian Huang Long Qigong, reached the pinnacle, alchemy, beginning to learn, 10,000 poison mysterious technique, not yet mastered, yin yang technique, not yet mastered. Secret skills, Guanfen Juiying kick, comprehensive and comprehensive, Tai Tsang Jing Shen sword, comprehensive and comprehensive, Wuji Xiantian step, proficient in the past, great yin and yang transformation, reaching the pinnacle, Wood spirit sword technique, beginner to practice, Ziwei formation record, first practice for beginners, spells, soul catching technique, beginner to learn and practice, sword controlling technique, to be mastered, ecstasy eye, to be mastered. Poisonous wood array, to get a first glimpse of the door, wind control technique, to be mastered and mastered, corpse control technique, to be mastered, supernatural power, Xianhuang long way, slightly successful, good harvest tonight. Guan closed the lifespan barrier, then stood up and took a step forward. His figure disappeared out of thin air and appeared in the forest dozens of feet away in an instant. Then he took another step and disappeared again. He seems to be constantly flashing, which is the mystery of the Wuji Wutang Xiantian step. Moreover, he is just a small attempt, and the maximum distance spanned is far more than this. Soon, he returned to Xian Valley. At noon, the sun is shining brightly. Guan stood in the city and looked at the tall buildings around him, his eyes full of curiosity. The street he was standing on was full of people, and monsters could be seen. There were many monks flying around in the sky. There are probably hundreds of thousands of people in this city. Tianya has 4 inner gate cities, and one city has hundreds of thousands of disciples. This is too exaggerated. Guan suddenly felt that he had underestimated the power of Taishan sect and the vastness of Taizong dynasty. The 10-day period has arrived. As early as yesterday, Guan went to the outer sect. He had to help the outer sect disciples take care of the cave first. After finishing it, it was already dawn. At noon today, he found Yi, and the two of them teleported. The formation came directly to the inner gate city. According to Yi, the outer gate city is thousands of miles away from the inner gate city. In the middle area live the monsters raised by Taishan sect, as well as some secret realms for disciples to practice and medicine valleys where high-level medicinal herbs are grown. The teleportation formation is a good thing. I have to study it carefully. Guan silently thought that he had just asked Yi that he could buy anything in the inner sect, including formations, as long as he had enough spiritual stones or spiritual energy pills. In the world of cultivating immortals, spiritual energy pills are also a kind of currency. They can not only restore the spiritual power of monks, but also be used as spiritual stones. Various sects have formulated the same specifications for spiritual energy pills. The spiritual energy contained in each spiritual energy pill is equivalent to 1 low-grade spiritual stones have the same value. Ever since Li Xiandao invited him to manage Medicine Valley, he had plans to open more Medicine Valleys. Wouldn't it be much more convenient if every Medicine Valley had a teleportation formation? Guan, hurry up. Di urged from the front, and Guan quickly followed his pace. Along the way, Di introduced him to the buildings along the way. He listened carefully and prepared to go shopping in the next few days. The Ji family banquet was difficult to end in just a few days, and he had plenty of opportunities to take advantage of it. Guan was not only listening, he was also using his lifespan to probe. He didn't even see the Foundation Establishment realm, or at worst the Core Formation realm, but almost all of these Core Formation realm disciples were over 200 years old. After walking through several streets, Guan finally caught sight of the existence of the Foundation Establishment realm. The man was only 40 years old and already at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. At first glance, he was a genius who had entered the inner sect with spiritual root qualifications. Di seemed to want to give Guan a lot of experience. His pace was not fast, and Guan was happy to do so. Half an hour later, they came to a mansion. The mansion was very vast, with several miles of walls. There were 2 large characters written on the plaque on the door, Ji Mansion. Good guy, you are so bold. Could it be that all the inner disciples of the Ji family live here? Guan complained secretly. He had a premonition that something was not good. If this continues, one day, Taishan sect will suppress the Ji family, and then he will really become a master of the Ji family. Although he is now affiliated with Tianya, in his heart, the Ji family must be more important. The Ji family raised him, made him grow up, and even led him to join the first sect like Taishan sect. These kindnesses cannot be repaid by donating low-level herbs. Of course, Guan will not forcefully repay the Ji family, but if the Ji family needs him, he will not refuse as long as it is not excessive. There were 2 Foundation Establishment realm monks waiting in front of the gate of Ji Mansion. Guan threw his lifespan to check and found that they were over 100 years old. They were obviously not geniuses. They were probably servants of the Ji family just like Guan and the other two. Di immediately stepped forward and took out his token. His posture was humble, nodding and bowing. Then you come and take over from us. When it gets dark, I will take you to your residence. The Foundation establishment realm monk named Zhang Yan muttered. Di did not dare to refuse and immediately agreed. Just like that, Guan and his two men started to stand guard. As soon as they arrived, Guan stood in front of a unicorn stone statue and suddenly had an idea. Do ye, help me guard it. I'll give you 100 low-grade spiritual stones. I want to go to the inner gate to buy some medicinal seeds. This is also to do something for the third lady. Guan said. Hearing this, Di was stunned. He wanted to refute, but couldn't refuse, 100 low-grade spiritual stones. This guy is so generous. In this way, Guan handed over 100 low-grade spiritual stones to Du Yi and left, starting to wander around the inner gate city alone. Before he had gone far, a voice came. Guan, why are you here? Chapter 45. You should become my disciple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan looked back and saw Zuolin, Liya's childhood friend, walking towards him. After not seeing each other for many years, Zuolin's cultivation level has only reached the third level of the foundation building realm. He is probably still obsessed with practicing swords. Guan turned around and saluted him, saying, the family called me to do something, so I came. You have a family? Aren't you a servant? Zuolin asked curiously. Guan replied, I am indeed a servant of the Ji family. Our third lady is about to hold a banquet, and I and other servants are here to help. What? You are from the Ji family? Zuolin widened his eyes. Guan asked back, didn't Senior Brother Li tell you? Zuolin shook his head and said, he didn't tell you. What a coincidence. My father was also invited by the Ji family. I followed to join in the fun. Isn't the Ji mansion behind? Where are you going? That he has always been interested in Guan and always felt that Guan is not simple, so he didn't want to miss it after meeting him with great difficulty. I'm going to walk around the inner gate city. Then I'll accompany you. Although I'm not an inner gate disciple, I've come here quite often because of my father's influence. Zuolin said enthusiastically, and Guan didn't refuse. The two chatted as they moved forward. Zuolin talked about his father, and through his words, Guan had a deeper understanding of the class of Taishan sect. Generally speaking, disciples will move up after reaching a certain level, but some people will take the path of power, such as Xiantian, who entered the Elder Hall. Unlike other halls, the Elder Hall is the power center of a city. The threshold of the outer gate Elder Hall is the Jindan realm, and the threshold of the inner gate Elder Hall is the Huashan realm. The Elder Hall has absolute power in each city. It is said that in the main city of the sect, the Elder Hall has higher power and can even decide the position of the sect master, so some Yuanying realm people will choose to stay in the outer gate as elders and continue to make profits for themselves. Zhua Yijian came to the inner gate and could not join the Elder Hall, but he became the head of the inner gate library hall and received a good salary. It's all Fei Yi Jinshin's fault. My father has gone crazy. Now he reads the investiture of the gods all day long and doesn't practice swordsmanship at all. Zuolin said indignantly. Guan asked, do you think the investiture of the gods is not good? It is indeed very good. Let me tell you, I like Yang Jian the most. Why is he not a sword cultivator? Zuolin talked more frequently when he talked about the investiture of the gods. Guan secretly sighed that it seemed that he still underestimated the impact of the investiture of the gods on the world of immortal cultivation. Listening to Zuolin praising Pannon, Guan felt secretly happy at first, but he became bored after listening for a long time. After all, he was not the real author. He wrote books mainly to earn spirit stones. Then, Guan asked Zuolin to take him to the Sutra Pavilion. The biggest difference between the Sutra Pavilion and the Library Pavilion is that the Sutra Pavilion is full of skills and spells. On the way, Guan asked if there was a 5-element technique, but was despised by Zuolin. In the world of immortal cultivation, techniques are basically used to cultivate a single attribute, even if one has multiple spiritual roots, unless one wants to rebuild. Rebuilding techniques. Although the realm is there, the process of accumulating spiritual power again is enough to make most cultivators collapse. Immortal cultivation is not martial arts, it takes years to accumulate. No one wants to go back to the path of decades or hundreds of years, not to mention those old monsters who have practiced for thousands of years. They will only grit their teeth and move forward, deeply studying one path, and that is why the way of immortal cultivation has flourished. When he came to the sutra library, Guan did not find the 5-element technique, but he still bought the basic techniques of the other 4 attributes, buying the cheapest one. Anyway, he could upgrade it with Krypton life. Spiritual stones should be used mainly to buy seeds. Zhuo Lin was confused as to why he bought techniques of different attributes, and he replied that he bought them for his disciples, which made Zhuo Lin respect him. At the beginning in Xian Valley, Zhuo Lin could feel his attitude towards the menial disciples. Guan not only flattered Liya, who was born in the royal family, but also treated people of lower status very well. Perhaps Liya was right, he was really a good person. Zhuo Lin thought so while looking at Guan's profile. Brother Zhuo, can you take me to see the formation? Guan asked with a smile. Zhuo Lin agreed immediately after hearing this. The result disappointed Guan a little. There were indeed teleportation formations, but they were all sky-high prices, and he couldn't afford them at all. He could only consider it another day. Although he was a cultivator in the crossing void realm, it was not easy to rob them. After arriving at the inner gate, Guan felt that Talisman must have hidden a crossing void realm old monster. After all, the threshold for the elders of the inner gate was the transformation realm, and there was the main city of the sect above. In fact, if you think about it carefully, Talisman is indeed powerful. So many cultivators of the demonic path died in the outer gate, and the demonic path did not dare to attack Talisman, and a Jindan realm spy like Jiang Qiong only dared to move outside the outer gate. If Talisman was a large map, Guan would only move in a small corner. Until the evening, Guan said goodbye to Zhuo Lin and returned to the gate of Ji Mansion. Di was still waiting, which touched him a little. Why did you come back just now? You can't get in without me. Di complained. Guan smiled and patted his shoulder. He didn't say much, and the two walked into Ji Mansion. As soon as he came in, Guan felt many auras. It turned out that Ji Mansion also had isolation restrictions. He even caught the aura of the transformation realm. Along the way, he threw lifespan detection at everyone he met. There are many people in Ji Mansion, and many of them are geniuses. Although Ji Xiaoyu only brought 5 people into Taishan sect, the Ji family has more than one branch, and every year there are children pouring into various sections. After an incense stick of time, Di took Guan to meet Ji Lin, the genius who was famous in the outer sect. Ji Lin, 9th level of Foundation Establishment 36/330/900, 36 years old, 9th level of Foundation Establishment, very strong. He probably took a lot of pills. Guan looked at Ji Lin and thought so, and took out the herbs he had prepared in advance. Ji Lin was not arrogant, and his attitude towards Guan was quite good. He made a lot of promises to Guan, and Guan pretended to be excited, which made the meeting a perfect ending. Afterwards, Di took Guan to find a place to live. The two lived in the same yard, but fortunately each had a room. Nothing happened that night. The next morning, just after dawn, Guan was pulled out of the yard by Di. The two came to the gate and waited. Not only them, but also dozens of cultivators were guarding. Under the arrangement of the leader, they stood in 2 rows, ready to welcome the guests of today's banquet. Half an hour later, guests began to arrive. The first one was a cultivator in the nascent soul realm. After the man entered the mansion, Guan heard other servants talking about the man being from the inner gate law enforcement hall, and he had considerable power. As time went on, more and more guests came, and the weakest leader of each wave was at the nascent soul realm, and a large proportion of those at the spiritual transformation realm were at the spiritual transformation realm. No wonder Li Xiandao had to hide his cultivation level. Although the 8th level of the spiritual transformation realm was strong, it was still far from being invincible. The arrival of one person made Guan take a closer look. This person was Fu Xiong's master, named Luo Xuanya. When Guan searched Fu Xiong's soul, he memorized his face. Luo Xuanya, 9th level of the nascent soul realm 254/804/1300, a 250-year-old man at the 9th level of the nascent soul realm. He was considered a genius, the Ji family of the consul in front of the mansion obviously had a good relationship with Luo Xuanya, and the two even exchanged pleasantries for a while. Who would have thought that this person was a demon cultivator? Guan thought silently. From beginning to end, he did not speak, but just stood there, which was quite relaxed. About half an hour later, Guan saw another Qianqiu pavilion spy, Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong, nascent soul realm level 1192/700/2490. After 7 years of not seeing each other, she succeeded in overcoming the tribulation so quickly. Jiang Qiong was wearing the robes of an inner sect disciple, with a cold expression, not as frivolous as when she faced Guan. She just glanced at Guan, and the two did not communicate until she walked into the Ji mansion. Why is she here? It shouldn't be as simple as coming to celebrate, right? Guan thought in confusion. Jiang Qiong is not going to plot against the Ji family, right? Pan! Suddenly, a shout full of surprise attracted Guan's attention, and he saw Guyu, who had met him once in the outer sect library, walking towards him quickly. Behind Guyu was a middle-aged man in gorgeous clothes, with extraordinary momentum, but weak breath, and obviously practiced some kind of breath-retaining method. Guan subconsciously threw a lifespan probe. Guzong, Dushu realm level 2690/1805/2800, wow. Dushu realm. Tai Xian sect really hides Dushu realm. This man also has the surname Gu, and is obviously related to Guyu by blood. He had always thought that Guyu was not simple. Guan, are you from the Ji family? Guyu came to Guan and asked excitedly. Guan nodded and said, I'm just a servant. With your talent, why would you be a servant? I'll ask my father to recruit you into the inner gate. Guyu said heroically, causing the Ji family members around to look at him sideways. Guyu turned his head and said to Guzong, Father, he is the person I often mention. Take him in as your disciple. That the cultivators following Guzong were all in the nascent soul realm and the spiritualization realm. After hearing what Guyu said, they all looked at Guan curiously. Oh no. How did he fall into this kid's hands? Guan cursed in his heart. Guzong frowned and said, How can you behave in public? Guan breathed a sigh of relief. Great cultivators are different. They know that they cannot break the rules in public. Guzong looked at Guan, and his stern expression suddenly disappeared. He showed a gentle smile and said, My friend, my name is Guzong. Please worship me as your master. Everyone was moved by these words, and he looked at Guan in disbelief. Guan breathed a sigh of relief and then he breathed it back. My spiritual roots are mediocre, so I'm afraid I'm not suitable to worship you as my master. Guan said helplessly. Guzong smiled and said, I don't look at the aptitude when I accept disciples, I only look at the eye contact. What you wrote is good, I like it very much. How could Guan agree in front of everyone, and he didn't like to worship people of the same realm as his master. He had to worship Qing Xiandan at the beginning. I still have to discuss this matter with others. I hope you will forgive me. Guan took a deep breath and said with embarrassment. When Guzong heard this, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. He walked forward, patted Guan on the shoulder, left a word and walked into the Ji mansion. After the banquet, let's have a good chat. It's okay if you don't want to become my disciple. If you help me do one thing, I will meet all your requirements. Guyu winked at Guan, and then followed his father's footsteps. When this group of guests entered the mansion, the surrounding Ji family members gathered around and asked him what he wrote that made Guzong so respectful. An old monk teased, Could it be that you wrote the investiture of the gods? Guan smiled and said, I hope it was written by me. Di snorted, How could he write the investiture of the gods? It's probably something related to growing medicinal herbs. Others followed suit. After this twists and turns, Guan's presence suddenly reached its peak. Just when Guan wanted to escape, a Ji family monk walked out of the mansion and said, Who is Guan? Miss San invites you. Thanks to Mujiking for the 500 starting coins and Xiaoyu who can't blow bubbles for the 100 starting coins. Chapter 46, Xiantian Dao Talisman, Demonic Ambition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He is Guan. Di pushed Guan, who staggered for a moment, then looked at the summoning monk and said, I am Guan. Bring it on. The monk responded, then turned and walked towards the mansion. Guan followed him, feeling confused. What was Ji Xiaoyu doing with him? He didn't have much contact with Ji Xiaoyu when he was a child. After all, there was a huge gap in status between the two. After Guan left, the monks from the Ji family who were guarding the door surrounded Di and inquired about Guan. Duye's face looked a little unnatural and he could only answer one by one. The other side, Guan followed the messenger monk and walked 2 miles before arriving at Ji Xiaoyu's courtyard. The messenger monk stopped outside the courtyard gate, raised his hand to signal Guan to come in, and then turned and left. Guan can already feel Ji Xiaoyu's aura. According to his judgment, Ji Xiaoyu is also at the 9th level of the Foundation establishment realm, but is much stronger than Ji Lin. He walked into the courtyard. There was a bamboo forest planted in the courtyard, and the courtyard was full of spring scenery. Unlike autumn, he walked along the path in the bamboo forest, and soon he saw a pool of water, with white spiritual mist lingering on the water. There was a figure in the mist meditating and practicing, and he could vaguely see a woman. After Guan approached, he cupped his fists and saluted Ji Xiaoyu in the pool, and said, Guan has met the third lady. Ji Xiaoyu was wearing a green dress, sitting cross-legged. She was floating on the surface of the pool, with her hands pinched on her knees. Her long hair was tied on top of her head by 3 beaded hairpins. 2 strands of hair fluttered beside her cheeks. Her forehead she was as white as jade, with a looming red line. In terms of facial features, in Gu En's knowledge, only Jiang Qiong could compare with her. Different from Jiang Qiong's charming temperament, which is both good and evil, Ji Xiaoyu is like a fairy from the 9 heavens descending to earth. No emotion can be seen on her face, and she exudes a holy temperament that people dare not blaspheme. Guan thought of the scene when he first met Ji Xiaoyu when he was a child. At that time, he felt that Ji Xiaoyu didn't look like a child, and her eyes seemed to have been tempered by the years. He immediately threw a lifespan probe. Ji Xiaoyu, 9th level of Foundation Building Realm 34/830/8900. What the hell? The ultimate lifespan of 8,900 years. The most important thing is that she is only at the 9th level of the Foundation Realm. Why does she have a lifespan of 830 years? Guan was surprised, suddenly feeling that Ji Xiaoyu had more than just 2 spiritual roots. You did a good job before. When the banquet is over, you can go see Guzong. You can become his disciple. Ji Xiaoyu said without opening her eyes. Her voice was pleasant, gentle yet majestic. This guy actually eavesdropped on the conversation in front of the house. Guan complained in his heart and replied, "Third miss, actually I really don't want to be his teacher. I can see that his status is not simple, and his cultivation level must be very high, but my qualifications are mediocre. If I can become a famous teacher, instead, I will get into trouble. I just want to stay in my medicine valley and spend the rest of my life. Contributing a batch of medicinal materials to Miss Sen every year can satisfy me." Hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu opened her eyes, the fog in front of her dissipated, and she tilted her head and squinted at Guan. The corners of her eyes seemed to outline a line, pointing slightly upward, adding a touch of grandeur to her soft eyes. Those bright eyes seemed to want to see through Guan's heart. Guan lowered his head slightly, not looking at her. It's not that he's afraid of her, it's just that his current identity is that of a servant at the 9th level of the Qi training realm, so he can do a good job. Then I won't become a disciple, but Guzong wants to see you, so you still have to go. This matter is really difficult for you. Tell me what I can do for you. As long as I can do it, I will do it. Ji Xiaoyu said softly. Perhaps Ji Xiaoyu had saved Guan when she was a child, and Guan had a crush on her, so when he heard her words, he was not polite and said, "Miss Third, the Xian Valley where I am is too small, and I want to plant more herbs. Can you help me get another medicine valley? Of course, don't transfer me away from Xian Valley. I'm reluctant to leave it there because of my hard work." Ji Xiaoyu fell into silence upon hearing this. Guan was not in a hurry. If she can't do it, then she can ask Guzong to do it. He could probably guess what Guzong wanted to do with him. He is a book writer. What can I do with him? Ji Xiaoyu said, "I can't completely promise you the medicine valley. After all, this is not the Ji family, and you don't want to leave your medicine valley. I will try my best. In addition, you can make another request. Guan immediately said, can you give me a teleportation formation? I want to connect the two medicine valleys to facilitate travel. It's not difficult. I'll have someone bring it to you after the banquet. Thank you, Miss Third. Guan smiled and saluted again with his fists clasped. Ji Xiaoyu closed her eyes and asked, by the way, what exactly did you write? Why does Guzong value you so much and even want to accept you as a disciple? Guan thought for a while and felt that he couldn't hide this matter. After today, Ji Xiaoyu might want to investigate him, so he might as well be frank so that the Ji family can protect him in the future. The Romance of the Gods. When Guan uttered these 4 words, Ji Xiaoyu opened her eyes suddenly and turned to look at him, her eyes showing surprise for the first time. Did you write Fengshen Yanni? How do you know so much? Ji Xiaoyu asked with a frown. Guan said helplessly, that's just my imagination, it's not true. Nowadays, many people say that Fengshen Yanni is about a period of ancient history. Zhuo Lin, Wu Xian and others also thought so, which made him nervous for a time. If he hadn't gone to the Outer Gate Library to check, there were no records related to China at all, and he almost thought that Fengshen Yanni was true. Imagining. But the world you described is so vast, and the Taoist methods are fascinating. Ji Xiaoyu said softly, it is obvious that she also likes to watch the investiture of the gods. Guan pretended to be embarrassed, looking like he didn't know how to respond. You can't tell this to others. The influence of the investiture of the gods is too great. Han An's name has spread throughout the Taizong dynasty. Other sects want to find you. Ji Xiaoyu warned. She thought about it, raised her right hand, the jade ring on her middle finger flashed, and a small bronze sword appeared in her palm. This is a talisman. You only need to inject spiritual power into it to activate it. This treasure can kill Jindan realm cultivators. You should keep it to save your life. Ji Xiaoyu's words made Guan look at the bronze sword more. This was the first time he came into contact with this kind of talisman. Jiang Qiong had mentioned to him before that talismans cannot recognize their masters and need to reserve spiritual power to use. They are often left by great cultivators to save their lives. He didn't expect that he could enjoy it today. He did not refuse and accepted the bronze sword. Go back to the house and rest. You don't have to guard the door. Ji Xiaoyu closed his eyes again, and his tone returned to the previous indifference. Guan raised his hand to salute, then turned and left. After leaving the yard, Guan was secretly curious. He felt a trace of inexplicable aura on Ji Xiaoyu, which made people inexplicably want to get it. He didn't think much and walked towards his own yard. As more and more guests came, the interior of the Ji mansion became lively, and there were people everywhere. The Huashan was chatting and laughing, the Yuanying was accompanying him, and the Jindan could only run around. The status gap brought by the realm was fully revealed in this Ji mansion. As he walked, Guan suddenly saw someone, Jiang Qiong. The two met in a corridor, face to face. Guan was very calm, and his expression did not change at all, and Jiang Qiong was the same. The two passed by each other, half a meter apart, and Guan suddenly felt a jade pendant stuffed into his left hand. Go back to the house and use your spiritual sense to investigate. You and I will pretend that we don't know each other. Jiang Qiong's voice reached Guan's ears. She used the sound transmission technique. Guan clenched the jade pendant in his hand and left without looking back. The two of them passed each other like this, as if they didn't know each other at all. Inside the house, Guan sat on the bed, holding the jade pendant in his left hand with the back of his hand facing up. Even in the house, he did not expose the jade pendant. He probed his spiritual sense into the jade pendant, and soon, his brows furrowed. In the jade pendant was a piece of spiritual remnant left by Jiang Qiong, telling him why she came to Ji Mansion. Jiang Qiong's target this time was Ji Xiaoyu. Not only her, Qianqiu Pavilion and other magic sects also sent spies, all wanting to snatch the innate Taoist talisman in Ji Xiaoyu's body. The Xiantian Dao talisman is a very special power, like blood. Born with it, but once the owner forms a pill, the Xiantian Dao talisman will appear on the golden pill. At this time, as long as the golden pill is taken away, the Xiantian Dao Talisman will leave the cultivator's body. According to Zhang Qiong, the Dao Talisman is rare in 10,000 years, rarer than the heavenly spiritual root, and has the great fortune of changing fate. No wonder Ji Xiaoyu's lifespan is so exaggerated. It turns out to be because of the Xiantian Dao Talisman. Guan is in a dilemma. On one side is Zhang Qiong, and on the other side is Ji Xiaoyu. Who should he support? Forget it. No matter what, Zhang Qiong will not make a move until the end of the banquet. He has to wait for Ji Xiaoyu to form a pill. By then, Guan has returned to Xian Valley. Guan is very curious about the Xiantian Dao Talisman. Is the special breath he felt on Ji Xiaoyu before the breath of the Xiantian Dao Talisman? Even he, a great cultivator in the realm of crossing the void, can't help but be greedy, which shows how strong the power contained in the Xiantian Dao Talisman is. As time went by, the banquet went smoothly, and those lurking demon cultivators did not act rashly. At noon, Ji Xiaoyu also demonstrated the Qilin step for the guests, and Guan witnessed this scene in the yard. Ji Xiaoyu stepped out of the yard, stepping up to the sky. With every step she took, a Qilin Dharma image appeared under her feet. After 7 steps, the Qilin Dharma image covered her body. At first glance, it seemed as if there were 7 dark red Qilin standing in the air, which was very spectacular. With Guan's eyesight, he could see that Ji Xiaoyu could take 2 more steps, and 9 steps were the limit of her Qilin step, but the limit of the Qilin step is not 9 steps. When practiced to the pinnacle, 1,000 steps can be taken, and 1,000 Qilins are like clones, which can besiege the opponent or confuse the opponent. In any case, it is really amazing that Ji Xiaoyu can practice the Qilin step at the age of 34. Relying on the Qilin step, she is enough to sweep the same realm. In the evening, Di brought Guzong and Guyu to find Guan. Di led the way and left, not daring to disturb them. An hour later, Guzong left with a satisfied smile. Guan sent them to the gate of the courtyard. Guyu turned back, winked at Guan, and said, "Remember, I must have many confidants in the book. I will come to you in half a year at most. The medicine valley you want will definitely not be small." Chapter 47, Demonic Shadow Magic, showing its power for the first time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The reason why Guzong came to Guan was to let Guan write a book about his deeds. Guan would naturally not refuse this. After all, he was not asked to write Guzong as the protagonist of the investiture of the gods. In exchange, Guzong would raise Guan's treatment to that of an outer disciple, and at the same time grant him a medicine valley that was twice as large as Xian Valley. Half a year later, Gu would bring something to Guan. Guan felt that it was not a loss to write a book in exchange for a medicine valley, since he had nothing to do on weekdays anyway. That night, after Di returned to the house, he asked Guan why Guzong came to him. "Sex of the sect, are you sure you want to find out?" Guan asked meaningfully, which frightened Di so much that he trembled all over and dared not ask again. The next morning, the guests of Ji Mansion dispersed, and a cultivator found Guan and handed him a storage bag, saying that it was given by the third lady. He scanned it with his spiritual sense, and found that it contained the materials of the formation, which was very rich. Guan hesitated whether to remind Ji Xiaoyu, but when he saw that the number of Ji family cultivators in Ji Mansion increased instead of decreased, and even many cultivators were meditating on the eaves, he knew that the Ji family had sensed the crisis. In this case, he didn't need to worry about it. At noon, Guan followed Di and left, still returning to the outer gate. City through the teleportation formation. After saying goodbye to Duyi, Guan rushed to Xian Valley. He had already begun to plan the planting plan for the second medicine valley in his mind. In addition to Li Xuandao's medicine valley, he will have 3 medicine valleys, and his lifespan income will surely soar in the future. Even if he has reached the first level of the realm of crossing the void, Guan will not think that his lifespan is too short. There must be many levels above the realm of crossing the void. The higher you go, the more lifespan you need to consume. His goal is immortality, the peak of the road to immortality. Standing on the flying sword, traveling between heaven and earth, Guan stood in the wind, with the dream of longevity in his heart. When he returned to Xian Valley, his brows furrowed, he landed on his sword, and the flying sword followed him into his storage bag. Yi Yan, who was weeding not far away, saw him and ran over immediately. "Master, you are finally back." Yesterday, a senior came to our medicine valley to stay temporarily. Yi Yan reported immediately. Guan nodded and said, I know, you continue to be busy. He noticed that there were flags hidden in the weeds in the mountains and forests around Xian Valley. It was obviously a formation. He first felt the other party's breath, then pretended not to notice the formation, and walked towards the direction of the cultivator's breath. Along the way, he quickly observed his herbs. Good guy. 6 4th-level herbs were missing. Gu En's eyes suddenly turned cold. The other party's cultivation is not simple. He is a cultivator in the God Transformation realm. But even if he is in the God Transformation realm, if he dares to steal his herbs, he will have to pay a price. Guan came to Xiaochuan's courtyard. He saw someone refining an elixir in the courtyard. The elixir furnace looked simple and half a person's height. There were wisps of green smoke coming out of it. The person refining the elixir was an old man with a hunched back, a short and fat body, and his gray hair was tied behind his head with a straw rope. Qiu Qinli, Level 2 of the Transformation Realm 486/930/1050. After Guan confirmed that the other party did not hide a stronger cultivation, he immediately went up to him and asked, May I ask your name, senior, and what is your origin? That his tone was very aggressive, which was completely different from his usual attitude towards people. Qiu Qinli stood up, turned to look at Guan, and said with a smile, My name is Qiu Qinli. I passed by this medicine valley and wanted to stay for a few days. Guan asked, Are you from Taishan sect? Because Ji Xiaoyu was about to form an elixir, he had to doubt the other party's identity. No one from the transformation realm came to his medicine valley on weekdays. The disciples who were busy also cast their eyes towards this courtyard. In fact, they could all feel that Qiu Qinli had a complicated background, so they were relieved to see Guan coming back. What about you? Are you the owner of this medicine valley? Qiu Qinli asked with a smile. Guan replied, Yes, why don't you answer me, senior? Qiu Qinli shook his head and laughed, muttering to himself, How dare a qi training cultivator speak to me in this tone? He suddenly squatted down and slapped the ground with one palm. In an instant, the earth shook, and the big flags hidden in the mountains and forests in all directions trembled, bursting out with demonic energy, which quickly rose up and formed a demonic net, covering the entire Xian Valley, and then the demonic net turned transparent, as if everything just now was an illusion. What do you want to do? Guan asked in a panic. The disciples in the distance noticed something was wrong, and someone rushed over immediately. The first to arrive were Xiaochuan and Yi Yan, followed by Wu Xin, Jinqin, and Suan. Although the others came, they did not dare to approach rashly, and only dared to stand outside the courtyard and watch nervously. Suan stood in front, holding a sword in his hand, but from his trembling legs, he was very nervous. Jinqin's face was pale with fear, but she still stood in front of Guan, which made him want to laugh. This silly girl. Qiu Qinli's right palm was surrounded by a dense demonic aura. He slowly stood up with a ferocious smile on his face, saying, Since the Valley Master is back, then I will not pretend. If you want to live, then you should be obedient, otherwise I will peel off your skin and suck your soul, so that you can neither live nor die. Feeling his terrifying momentum, all the disciples were terrified. Wu Xin asked bravely, We are all menial disciples. Even if we refine our souls, it will not benefit you. Let's talk it out. What do you want us to do? He was afraid that Guan wouldn't be able to see through the other person's cultivation, so he spoke first. Qiu Qinli sneered and said, You are sensible. From now on, you will wait in the valley for my instructions. I will use your medicine valley to practice elixirs. Don't even think about escaping. My formation is invisible and colorless. Even if it is a monk in the core formation realm will instantly turn into a pool of blood when touched. Everyone had just seen the scene of the formation, so they naturally believed what he said. Qiu Qinli looked at Guan and said with a joking smile, Valley Master, I'm telling you now that I'm from the Wanyin sect. What should you do? Wanyin sect. It's really haunting. Guan has never killed many people in his life, and except for Fu Xiong, they are all members of the Wanyin sect. Guan feigned fear and gritted his teeth and said, Senior, please forgive me for the offense I just committed. As long as you don't harm my disciples, you can give me your orders. Even if you want to refine your soul, please refine mine first. As soon as these words came out, the disciples were immediately anxious, but they did not dare to say anything for fear of angering Qiu Qinli. Wu Xian clenched the hands in his sleeves and secretly regretted, if I had been practicing hard and waiting for the skills to be perfect, how could I have allowed my senior brother to be like this? Zhen Qin, Xiao Chuan, Su Han, and Yi Yan also had similar ideas. Qiu Qinli smiled contemptuously. Guan quickly said, Senior, there are 5th-level medicinal herbs in my house, which are particularly suitable for making medicinal herbs. Do you need them? Yes, you are very aware of current affairs. Go quickly. Qiu Qinli waved his sleeves and said. Guan immediately turned around and ran to his attic. Others looked at Qiu Qinli warily, fearing that he would mess up. Qiu Qinli took out his ears, looked at Zhen Qin, and said with a smile, Little girl, come here and give me a hand. Seeing his malicious smile, Zhen Qin was extremely disgusted, but she was more filled with fear. What should she do? Based on the formation seen just now, there must be no one in this valley who can be the opponent of this demonic cultivator. Just when Zhen Qin was panicking, a purple-black figure appeared out of thin air beside Qiu Qinli. Qiu Qinli's pupils suddenly shrank, and he subconsciously turned his head to look. So fast. How can it be? Just as Qiu Qinli was about to take action, the opponent's right hand stretched out like a sword, piercing his chest directly and lifting him in the air. His eyes widened and he looked at the person below him in disbelief. This is a figure surrounded by dark purple aura. His true appearance cannot be seen clearly, as if he comes from the 9 netherworld. Wu Xian, Zhen Qin and others were also frightened by the sudden appearance of the mysterious figure, and all retreated. Qinqiu. Gu. Demonic shadow magic. Qiu Qinli said tremblingly, his tone full of fear. He desperately found that he could not mobilize the spiritual power in his body at all. In that blow just now, the opponent directly shattered his golden elixir, and its overbearing spiritual power also suppressed his soul in the body. Unable to escape, the other party must be higher than the realm of transformation into gods. Guan, who was performing the great yin and yang transformation, glanced back at Wu Xian. Wu Xian seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. Immediately afterwards, Guan penetrated Qiu Qinli's right hand and suddenly made a fist. The terrifying sword energy exploded, instantly shattering Qiu Qinli's body. Only his soul was left hanging on his arm, and Qiu Qinli's storage bag fell. In his other hand, flesh and blood splattered. Wu Xian and others were also splashed, but they were so frightened that they had no time to react and could only stay in place. Forward. Qiu Qinli's soul trembled, but before he could finish speaking, he was crushed by Gu En's domineering spiritual power. Gu En's figure disappeared out of thin air. The next second, the sound of the door being knocked open was heard in the distance, and Guan was seen climbing down from the attic platform with a 5th-order tiger blood flower in his hand. He quickly rushed to the courtyard where Wu Xian and others were, and shouted loudly, Senior! Don't mess around. That he jumped over the courtyard wall and came to Zhen Qin's side. Looking at the blood stains all over the courtyard, he quickly turned back to look at the disciples. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that there was no one missing. He asked nervously, That devil, where did he go? That his voice was very low, as if he was afraid that Qiu Qinli would hear him. Zhen Qin screamed as if she was awakened, then grabbed Gu En's robe and said in a trembling voice, Master, he is dead. He was. The other disciples also woke up and turned to look in other directions, fearing that the mysterious shadow would appear again. It took Guan a while to understand what had just happened from their mouths. I have to say, acting is also very tiring. Guan called on his disciples to be prepared and not to relax. At the same time, his right foot secretly exerted force, and the spiritual power spread along the ground, destroying the invisible formation. A curtain of demonic energy suddenly appeared in the sky above Xian Valley. Immediately afterwards, the mysterious demonic formation began to collapse. The demonic energy disappeared, as if it had never appeared before, and the autumn leaves on the top of the mountain fell down. The formation has been lifted? Yi Yan asked cautiously. Wu Xian took a deep breath, looked at Guan, and said, Senior brother, let's talk in another place. Killing Qiu Qinli gave him a lifespan of 66 years, which was not bad. Guan, who was in a happy mood, looked confused. He hesitated for a moment and chose to nod. The two of them walked towards Gu An's attic. while other disciples gathered together to discuss the situation just now. Arriving at the attic, Wu Xian closed the door, turned to look at Guan, gritted his teeth and said, "The person who took action just now should be the great monk from Qianqiu Pavilion. It may be that my father sent someone to protect me. Thanks to fleeting time Ru Tum for the reward of 500 starting coins, Chueren Gui for the reward of 500 reading coins, and Just Seeking Freedom for the reward of 253 starting coins. Please give me monthly tickets and recommended votes." Chapter 48 Yangmu Hunyuan Gong, Crossing the 9th Level of the Void Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing the complicated expression on Wu Xian's face, Guan wanted to laugh, but many years of acting experience prevented him from laughing. Guan was moved, and his expression kept changing. First he was shocked, then relieved, and finally became nervous again. Wu Xian saw the change in his senior brother's expression and became even more embarrassed, but he did not regret explaining the matter. Since the last time he opened his heart, Wu Xian felt that his senior brother was already the closest person to him, and there should be no secrets between the two. "Don't tell this matter, otherwise I won't be able to protect you." Guan took a deep breath and said seriously. Wu Xian nodded solemnly, recalling the previous battle. He was terrified. Guan asked curiously, "Can you recognize the man just now? What state is he in?" That he wanted to explore the depths of Qianqiu Pavilion. When Wu Xian heard this, he couldn't help but scratch his head and guessed, "I haven't seen his true appearance. He may be in the nascent soul realm. His movement skills are too fast. I feel that it is difficult for him to have such ability in the core formation realm." Guan was stunned. "This silly boy," he sighed, "you said your father doesn't care about you. Look, he also sent people to protect you. It is true that he doesn't care about me, but he may be afraid that I will lose his face, or the person who took action happened to be coming to Talisman to perform a mission." Wu Xian guessed that he was not moved by this incident and still resisted his father. Afterwards, Guan explained a few more words and then took Wu Xian downstairs. Guan did not ask his disciples to clean the yard, but kept the scene and waited for Wu Xian to go to the outer gate to find the law enforcement hall tomorrow. All the disciples in the valley had seen the previous battle, and the matter could not be hidden at all, so it was better to inform Talisman in advance. He stood in front of Qiu Qianli's alchemy furnace and observed the potion in the furnace. He couldn't tell what kind of elixir Qiu Qianli was refining, but decided to keep it and let Talisman decide for themselves. That night, when Guan came to Daoyan cave, after he fed Haolong with mutton as usual, he took out Qiu Qianli's storage bag. He poured out the contents and destroyed the storage bag. It has to be said that monks in the realm of gods are indeed very rich, and the spiritual stones and spiritual energy pills alone are a huge sum. He checked them one by one and burned all the useless things to prevent anyone from tracking them. He also wiped off the marks of Qiu Qianli one by one on those magic weapons, making them all ownerless. In the end, he only had a letter left in his hand. Inside was a blank piece of paper, which needed to be read with spiritual consciousness, and he had to reach the realm of divine transformation before he could pry into it. After some investigation, he learned why Qiu Qianli came. For the innate Taoist talisman. Qiu Qianli's mission is to deal with Wanyin sect's secret work in the outer sect who is robbing the innate Taoist talismans. In addition to Qianqiu Pavilion, Wanyin sect has also placed many details in Taishan sect, allowing Qiu Qianli to be responsible for taking care of them. That person's cultivation level must not be low. The devil's spies are really all-pervasive. How many people are as helpless as he was before? Guan sighed in his heart, then stood up to check the herbs in Daoyan cave. Early the next morning, Wu Xian took Tang Yu and Su Han to the outer gate. Guan asked the other disciples to work normally, those who herded sheep, those who weeded, and those who watered. At noon, Wu Xian and the others came back. The reason why they came back so quickly was because they were riding on the magical weapon of a monk in the Dan formation realm, which was a huge mahogany fan. There were dozens of people standing on it, and Yilan also exist. After everyone landed, Guan greeted them. The team was led by an elder from the law enforcement hall named Moronging. Moronging, 3rd level of Dan formation realm 268/503/908. Moronging was wearing a purple robe. She was tall, handsome, with black and white hair. She showed the majesty of a superior person by raising her hands and feet. After hearing Guan tell the story of the incident, he nodded slightly and said, "You did a good job. Next, we will sweep this area and never allow the demonic cultivators to lurk." Guan immediately thanked him. The disciples of the law enforcement hall did not chat much with the disciples in the valley. When they came to Xiaochuan's courtyard, they were all frightened when they saw the blood stains on the walls and the ground. Moronging came to Qiu Qianli's alchemy furnace. He looked inside the furnace and quickly frowned. The other side, Yilan came to Guan and comforted him. Guan asked Wu Xian to go find her first. If she spoke, it would be easier to invite the law enforcement hall. So when she heard that something happened in Xian Valley, she couldn't wait to come to Xian Valley immediately. After half a stick of incense, Moronging took away the alchemy furnace and then greeted the law enforcement hall disciples to leave. Looking at the retreating figures of the law enforcement hall disciples, Xiantian couldn't help but look at Guan and asked, "Is it over like this?" Guan didn't expect the law enforcement hall to do anything. He just had to report the matter. He didn't want to be labeled as a demon spy. "They will investigate. At least you have to believe your Uncle Yi," Guan said with a smile. When Xiantian heard this, she felt it made sense, but the attitude of the law enforcement hall still irritated her, and she secretly vowed to become an outer disciple as soon as possible. Qiu Qianli was just a setback to Xiangu, but to Guan, it was a warning. How many times has Xiangu encountered such danger? No. You still need to improve your cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed quickly. That night, Guan quietly left Xian Valley and sat down in the forest 100 miles away. He brought up the attribute panel and locked his eyes on Yangmu Hunyuan Gong. Improve your skills first. He immediately invested his lifespan of 10,000 years. In the end, Yangmu Hunyuan Gong completed a promotion and was promoted to Yangmu Hunyuan Gong, and his attainments were also at the level of perfection. Yangmu Hunyuan Gong also awakened magical powers, which surprised Guan. He immediately opened the life barrier and passed on Yangmu Hunyuan Gong. Half an hour later, the inheritance ended, and Guan also knew the mystery of the magical power. This magical power is called Yangmu Wanli. This magical power can inject spiritual power into the earth, condense Yangmu, and cover the earth. Yangmu can devour the spirit of living beings, and even devour spiritual power. It is extremely terrifying. As long as the spiritual power of the caster is sufficient, it can cover a land of 10,000 miles, very domineering magical power. Guan likes it very much. Guan continued to look at the cultivation level in the attribute panel. He was going to Krypton to the 9th level of the Dushu realm. As for the breakthrough, he was afraid that the movement would be too exaggerated, and now he only had a lifespan of more than 20,000 years. He first invested 1,000 years of life and successfully reached the 4th level of the Dushu realm from the 1st level of the Dushu realm, which was not bad. However, after he invested another 1,000 years of life, his cultivation level only reached the 5th level of the Dushu realm. In the end, he spent a total of 7,500 years to reach the 9th level of the realm of crossing the void. He still had more than 13,000 years left, so he stopped. As the spiritual energy of heaven and earth poured into his body, he began to carefully comprehend the mysteries in his body. He couldn't just rely on his lifespan to improve himself. He also wanted to establish his own understanding of cultivation. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth poured into his body, gathered on the golden elixir, gave birth to spiritual power, and then nourished his bones and soul, so his cultivation continued to improve. Even if he reached the realm of crossing the void, the golden elixir of the cultivator was still in the Dantian. And after reaching the realm of crossing the void, Guan could feel the importance of the golden elixir even more. This made him think of the golden elixir road in Taoist mythology. The realm of forming the elixir may only build the foundation. The true mystery of the golden elixir still needs to be developed at a higher level, just like the spiritual root. Guan always felt that practicing a single spiritual root would hit a wall at a certain stage. Immortals and gods are omnipotent, so how can they only have one attribute? The same is true for the Yuanshan and Jindan. The Yuanshan is the manifestation of the soul, which can free the practitioner from the constraints of the mortal body. Guan wants to try to integrate the Yangmu Hunyuan Gong with other attributes in the future. He wants to try to create a 5-element exercise that perfectly matches his top-grade 5-element heavenly spiritual root. 2 hours later, Guan successfully reached the 9th level of the Dushu realm. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth was drained by him, and it is estimated that the outer gate will be alarmed again. This is good. Teixuimen will definitely be more vigilant, and the pressure on the spies of the demons will increase dramatically, and Ji Xiaoyu's success rate in crossing the tribulation will also increase. Guan secretly sighed that he had helped Ji Xiaoyu. As expected, the next morning, when Guan led his disciples to practice exercises, he saw a great cultivator flying over Xian Valley, and the disciples were also talking about the sinking of spiritual energy yesterday, from the first level to the 9th level of the crossing void realm. The spiritual energy consumed is not inferior to that from the first level to the first level of the transformation realm, or even more. The outer gate of Taishan sect has encountered such things twice in a row, and it is afraid that it will be exhausted. Guan is ready to continue to save his life, so he is not worried about being found out. Next is the development of Yaogu. The autumn wind is bleak, and Xuangu lives a secluded life. Since experiencing the disaster of Qiu Qinli, the disciples in the valley have practiced more diligently. A month passed quickly. On this day, Guan was studying the Ziwei formation record under the tree, and the white spirit rat was napping next to him. It was as strong as a fat dog. While reading the Ziwei formation record, he stroked the white spirit rat with his right hand, which was very comfortable. Suddenly, Guan seemed to notice something, raised his eyes and looked into the distance, which was the direction of the inner gate. He felt the powerful aura of the crossing void realm, and there were great cultivators in the crossing void realm fighting. It seems that Ji Xiaoyu has successfully formed a pill, and the spies of the various demons can't hold back and are fighting. Guan couldn't help but think of Jiang Qiong, hoping that Jiang Qiong would not be reckless. With her cultivation level of the first level of the nascent soul realm, it would be difficult for her to snatch Ji Xiaoyu's golden elixir. The inner gate is so far away from the outer gate that the disciples of Xian Valley did not feel the breath of battle and continued to practice. Guan could still feel the breath of battle in the distance until night fell, which shows how fierce it was. The cold wind blew in from the window. Guan was sitting at the table reading a book, and footsteps came from outside the door. "Brother, can I come in?" Wu Xian's voice came in. Guan replied, "Come in." He quickly replaced the Qingxia travel notes in his hand with Qing Xuandan's Baichao Lu. Wu Xian pushed the door open and closed it. He walked to the table and saw the Baichao Lu in Guan's hand. He admired it secretly and his eyes became more determined. "Brother is so eager to learn, I must help him." Guan raised his eyes and asked, "It's so late, what's the matter?" Wu Xian took a deep breath and said, "Brother, you have been stuck in the 9th level of Qi training for a while, right?" Guan raised his eyebrows. "What do you mean? You are not satisfied with the position of the eldest disciple, and you are eyeing my position as the Valley Master, right?" Wu Xian followed and said, "Brother, in fact, I am a genius, but I have practiced a magical skill to suppress the growth of cultivation. This function has accumulated a lot and has the mysterious power of changing fate." Chapter 49 Daoyan Gong, Divine Power and Daozang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Actually I am a genius. Guan almost laughed when he heard Wu Xian's words. He smiled and said, "You have always been a genius in my eyes. Do you want to teach me your skills?" Wu Xian nodded and said, "When I say genius, I am comparing it to other people in the valley. But compared to my brothers and sisters, my talent is very mediocre. The skills I practice are called Daoyan Gong, which was taught by a divine monk. Once you practice this skill, your cultivation level will not improve, but your cultivation level will always be accumulated. I plan to unlock the level before the deadline. At that time, my spiritual root qualifications and lifespan will transform, but once it is unlocked, Daoyan Gong will lose its effect from then on." Guan couldn't help but become interested in Daoyan Gong after hearing this. "What level is that divine monk in?" he asked curiously. Wu Xian heard this and shook his head and said, "I don't know his cultivation level. He calls himself a Taoist who seeks immortals. If he is a Taoist, why call him a divine monk? He has shaved his head and is wearing a cassock. How can he be a Taoist? I learned this image from him. He said that I would have extraordinary luck in the future and forced me to shave my head. The scar on my head was left by him. Now I can't grow hair." Speaking of this, Wu Xian felt very aggrieved. He also wanted to be as handsome as Guan and be liked by women. Guan did not ask any more questions. He asked Wu Xian to talk about Daoyan Gong. He wanted to see how mysterious this Daoyan Gong was. Wu Xian began to talk about Daoyan Gong seriously, and this lecture lasted for a full hour. Daoyan Gong is indeed mysterious. The method of luck alone is very complicated. Moreover, from Guan's cultivation level, Daoyan Gong has other mysteries. Brother, do you remember it? How about I write it down for you tomorrow? Wu Xian asked with concern. Guan nodded with a smile and said, okay, this skill sounds really powerful. Thank you for your kindness. Let's rest tonight. Why thank you? What's the relationship between us? Wu Xian smiled. He was very happy and felt that he had finally helped his senior brother. After that, he turned and left. As soon as he went downstairs, Guan began to practice Daoyan Gong. Wu Xian was worried that he would not be able to remember it, so he followed Wu Xian's wishes to avoid exposing his current talent and realm. In fact, as long as it is not a special Taoist method, Guan can remember it in his heart just by listening to the text once. 3 days later, in the forest, Guan was practicing swordsmanship with Su Han. That day, Qiu Qianli was in chaos, and Su Han raised his sword to block the front, which moved Guan very much, so he decided to teach him a few moves. Su Han didn't have much expectations at first, thinking that his master was just bored, but he didn't expect that everything would be completely different from what he expected. Guan held a wooden sword, his footwork was simple, and his sword moves were even more ordinary, but he could easily dismantle each of his sword moves. Su Han was greatly shocked, and Guan's image in his mind was greatly improved. After dozens of moves, the sword in Su Han's hand was knocked over by Guan and fell to the ground. Su Han looked at the wooden sword hanging in front of his throat. He couldn't help swallowing, and looked at Guan in shock. Guan put away the sword, looked at him with a smile, and asked, "How is it?" "Very powerful." Su Han replied ashamedly. Guan shook his head and said, "I'm not asking you to evaluate me, but asking what you feel." Su Han was stunned and thought carefully. Wait. He seemed to think of something. His face changed drastically, his expression was stunned. He looked at Guan, and asked carefully, "Master, are you using the sword moves of the Hate Heaven sword?" Guan nodded and said, "Yes, I don't understand the Hate Heaven sword very well, but do you know why I can break your sword moves?" "Why?" Su Han asked. "I'm faster than you." "But you feel I'm slower than you." "But I can always easily break your sword moves." "Yes, Master, I really feel you're slow, but think carefully. I'm slow because you're staring at me, but I'm staring at your sword. Before you draw your sword, I can tell the trajectory of your sword swing. When you draw your sword, I also draw my sword, but I'm on defense and my sword swing distance is far less than yours, so when our swords collide, my speed is not as fast as yours, but I can catch up with you." Guan said patiently. Su Han frowned, and he began to carefully recall the process of the previous sword fight. Su Han figured it out quickly. Indeed, the victory or defeat was decided from the moment the two of them drew their swords. Su Han looked up at Guan and said with admiration, "Master, you are so amazing. You can practice better than me just by reading the sword manual of the Hate Heaven sword." Guan stepped forward and said with a smile, "In fact, I have also practiced sword, so I know better than you, but this matter is only known to you, you can't tell anyone. The master also has some grievances, and can't let people know that the master knows swordsmanship." Su Han was very moved when he heard it, and he knelt on one knee and raised his hand to swear. "I will never spread the fact that the master knows swordsmanship. If it is spread, the sky will be struck by 5 thunders and I will be lonely and helpless for the rest of my life." Guan hurriedly pulled him up and said unhappily, "Why swear? If you agree, the master will believe it." Having said that, he was still very satisfied with Su Han's attitude. With his style of doing things, it is already risky to instruct Su Han to practice swordsmanship now. Su Han scratched his head and smiled embarrassedly. Guan continued to teach Su Han swordsmanship. Although he did not practice the heavenly hate sword diligently, with his attainments in the Daozang shocking sword, it was more than enough for him to teach him a few things. Half an hour later, Guan left the forest, leaving Su Han to practice swordsmanship alone. he came to the entrance of the valley and fixed his eyes on a wooden fence in the park. There was a person standing there, accompanied by Yang Min, a handyman disciple, Jiang Qiong. How dare this guy directly enter Xian Valley in broad daylight? Guan secretly complained that he noticed when Jiang Qiong approached Xuangu, so he ended the cooking for Su Han early. The reason why he didn't stop him in advance was because Jiang Qiong came flying with a sword and did not hide his figure or aura at all. Guan walked quickly, came to Jiang Qiong's side, and said to Yang Min, "You go and do your work first, I will entertain her." Yang Min was relieved and left quickly. Jiang Qiong looked back at Guan and said with a smile, "Your disciple is really shy." Guan said, "Let's go upstairs and talk." Jiang Qiong had no objection and followed him to the attic. After entering the house, Guan closed the door and asked softly, "Master, why are you here, and it's still daytime?" Jiang Qiong sat down on her own. She first waved her sleeves, threw out 4 talisman papers, and stuck them on the door and window. Then she picked up the teapot on the table and poured herself tea. She said casually, "What are you afraid of? I'm still the inner disciple of Taishan sect. Did not reveal his identity before I was seriously injured. The reason why I hid him was because I had an enemy at that time. I have investigated over the years and found that the enemy is dead." Guan walked to sit opposite her and asked curiously, "The enemy is from Taishan sect?" "To be precise, we are all demon spies just like me," Jiang Qiong said with a half-smile, and she deliberately emphasized the emphasis on the word demon spy. Guan still wanted to ask more questions, but Jiang Qiong waved her hand and said, "Don't ask. I'm going to stay in your medicine valley for a while. I'll leave after the storm has passed." "How about that?" Guan frowned and asked, "What happened?" That he could feel that Jiang Qiong had suffered serious internal injuries, but he just pretended to be calm. Hearing this, Jiang Qiong's eyes became complicated and she said quietly, "It's really not easy for Ji Xiaoyu. He was able to escape my attack as soon as he stepped into the Dan formation realm. The moment I was distracted, he was attacked by the Ji family's Yuan. The infant monk was seriously injured. Are you taking action?" Guan suddenly became nervous. Jiang Qiong rolled her eyes at him and said angrily, "Forgot the magic shadow skill I taught you? I didn't reveal my true identity, so you don't have to be afraid." When Guan heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. He asked, "Has Ji Xiaoyu's innate Taoist talisman been taken away?" Jiang Qiong shook his head and said, "No one succeeded. Relying on the Qilin steps, it was difficult for the Yuanying realm monks to get close to her, while the transformed gods and stronger demonic monks were blocked by the Ji family and Teixuanmen monks. Teixuanmen the elders are really powerful." She seemed to be remembering something. With a look of fear on her face, Guan breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that Ji Xiaoyu was fine. Neither of them died, which in his opinion was the best outcome. Guan looked at Jiang Qiong, wondering how to comfort her. Jiang Qiong looked up at him and asked with a smile, "You won't tip off the Ji family, will you?" Guan quickly shook his head and said, "How is that possible? I'm not that kind of person." "Really? Seriously? Could it be that master wants me to swear?" Guan said seriously. Su Han just swore to him before, now he wants to swear to Jiang Qiong again. Jiang Qiong looked at him and said in surprise, "That's not necessary. Actually, I just want you to report the news." Guan was surprised and didn't understand what she meant. Jiang Qiong drank a cup of tea and said with a smile, "Seeing you standing at the door of Ji's house, I came up with an idea. I wanted to use your mouth to inform the Ji family and let the Ji family stand ready. In this way, after Ji Xiaoyu forms the elixir, there was a fierce battle. What a pity. I didn't expect you to be such a person. Master really misjudged you." Jiang Qiong pretended to be distressed and sighed. Guan was silent. Jiang Qiong changed her tone and said with a smile, "But this also shows that your heart is closer to me and you have not let me love you in vain. Master will treat you well in the future. Congratulations, you have completely captured Master's heart." "Master, don't talk nonsense. You, it seems that you have been bound by the rules and regulations of the righteous way, and you don't need to be teased." Jiang Qiong covered her mouth and smiled, which made Guan feel helpless. At this time, Jiang Qiong suddenly touched the storage bag at his waist, and then placed a piece of bronze on the table. This piece of bronze is square, with notches on the edges, and is densely engraved with tiny characters. Jiang Qiong's eyes were hot and she said, "This is the real purpose of my going to Ji's mansion. This is the Ji family's magical treasure. It records one of the Ji family's 10 magical powers. It is a congratulatory gift given to Ji Xiaoyu by the head of the Ji family. This thing needs it can only be opened by the blood essence of the direct bloodline of the Ji family. Of course, if the cultivation level exceeds the realm of transformation, the restrictions inside can also be forcibly broken. The Ji family has passed down Ji Zhao's Jade Qilin steps, and also passed down its magical secrets. It seems to be to help her worship in the Holy Land one day. Shinto hidden." Guan couldn't help but look at the bronze piece, his eyes full of curiosity. Jiang Qiong pushed the bronze piece to Guan and said, "I'll put this thing here with you first. You hide it in the Daoyan cave. I will come to you after I get the blood essence of the Ji family's direct bloodline. In the meantime, this thing will stay here. I'm afraid there's going to be harm on me." Guan looked at the bronze piece on the table and couldn't help but blink. Thanks to Xian Wuju for rewarding 1500 Qidian coins, Jia Yumu San Sui for rewarding 1000 Qidian coins, Bookfriend 20240525202749421 for rewarding 500 Qidian coins, Wang Shi for rewarding 500 Qidian coins, Bookfriend 20230708145409383 for rewarding 100 Qidian coins, Li Junya for rewarding 100 Qidian coins, Bookfriend 20221202214910450 for rewarding 100 Qidian coins, Zhongli Yishue for rewarding 100 Qidian coins, Ji Qiu de Zai for rewarding 100 Qidian coins, Bookfriend 20230711191309972 for rewarding 100 Qidian coins, Yan Gu Piao Xiang for rewarding 100 Qidian coins, Shui Rengui for rewarding 100 Yu coins. Chapter 50 Heaven and Earth Dao Gang, Tianya Valley. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan put the bronze piece into the storage bag, and asked, "Are the 10 great magical powers of the Ji family very strong? Even a genius like you from Qianqiu Pavilion is jealous." Jiang Qiong looked at the wooden cabinet next to him and said softly, "Very strong, and you can't practice it just because you want to. In the Ji family, anyone who can practice a magical power, regardless of their status, will be cultivated by the Ji family and moved into the main clan of the Ji family. In the Daozang dynasty, all the sects combined are difficult to subvert the Taishan sect. The same is true for the aristocratic families. There is a huge gap. There are 3 aristocratic families that are above the dynasty, and one of them is the Ji family." Listening to her words, Guan suddenly suspected that Qianqiu Pavilion also had a ghost in the Ji family. "It's worthy of being a demon." Guan followed her words and asked, "Who are the other 2 families? Zhou and Gu. Why is there no Li?" "Huh, the Li family is just a puppet." Jiang Qiong's words were quite disdainful of the Li family, which gave Guan a new understanding of the Daozang dynasty. The royal family is not the strongest aristocratic family. Yes, although Li Xuandao's lifespan is strong, it is not as good as Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu is the most talented person that Guan has ever met. Gu Zong is probably from the Gu family. His cultivation in the realm of crossing the void is enough to prove the background of the Gu family. As for the Zhou family, Guan has not yet come into contact with them. Taking this opportunity, Guan continued to ask Jiang Qiong about the world of immortal cultivation, and Jiang Qiong answered one by one. After an incense stick of time, Jiang Qiong became impatient. "Why do you have so many questions? Hurry up and arrange a place for me to live." Jiang Qiong glared. It was the first time that Guan heard her call herself old lady. It seemed that her injuries were not going to last, so Guan took Jiang Qiong downstairs and arranged a place for her personally. After moving in, Jiang Qiong began to practice qigong to heal her injuries and no longer went out of the house. Chen Qin found Guan and curiously asked about Jiang Qiong's identity. Guan only said that she was an inner sect disciple, but it was enough to shock Chen Qin. In this way, the news that an inner sect disciple came to Xian Valley spread quickly, and all the disciples knew about it. It was also said that the inner sect disciple was very beautiful. Late at night, Guan entered the 8th scenery cave heaven alone and buried the bronze piece in the soil. After Jiang Qiong left, he explored the magical power of the Ji family. Autumn passed and winter came, and white snow gradually fell from the sky. After recuperating in Xian Valley for nearly a month, Jiang Qiong said goodbye to Guan. Guan watched her fly away on a sword. She went in the opposite direction of the inner sect, and it was estimated that she was leaving Teixunmen. Guan looked at Qianqin's house. He could feel that Qianqin was practicing some kind of miraculous skill, which was taught by Jiang Qiong. Before leaving, Jiang Qiong explained to him that it was Qianqin who insisted on pestering her. Guan looked for a while, then walked towards the forest, ready to see the demon sheep active in the forest. The demon path should have dissipated, and then it was time to resume a peaceful farming life. Guan would not be complacent because he had reached the 9th level of the realm of crossing the void. He felt that it was not enough. He had begun to look forward to what functions would be unlocked by a lifespan of 1 million years, hoping for something powerful. In the days to come, he would go out of the valley from time to time to take care of the caves of the outer disciples, and go to the outer sect to purchase seeds of high-level medicinal herbs. The winter snow was getting heavier, making the world fall into desolation. That night, Guan quietly came to the 8th scenery cave heaven. He dug out a piece of bronze from the soil, and then brought it under the Tsangting tree. He sat on the spot and meditated. How Long came over and began to rub against him. Guan suddenly found that How Long's body began to become wider, which was not a good sign. He began to remind How Long not to be greedy, as he did not want to raise a fat dragon. After playing with How Long for a while, Guan began to use his spiritual sense to attack the bronze piece. Jiang Qiong did not lie to him. There was indeed a powerful restriction hidden in this piece of bronze, which could not be broken without the realm of crossing the void. Guan had already thought about it. If this item can only be passed on to one person, he would pass it on to Jiang Qiong after he learned it. If it can be reused, he would pretend that he had not touched it. Boom. The powerful consciousness of the 9th level of the crossing void realm rushed into the bronze piece. The mysterious restriction only lasted for a moment. When the restriction was forcibly broken, a huge memory poured into his mind. This memory was very complicated and messy. Various information broke into his mind rudely, making him frown slightly. After breaking the restriction, he actually needed to sort out the information. Perhaps this is also a means of assessment. Guan's consciousness is strong and can capture subtle connections. After a while, he sorted it out clearly. This magical power is called Tiandi Dao Gang. The winter snow was thick. The snow this year was much heavier than before. Guan had to lead the disciples to shovel snow. As long as it was not urgent, they would not use spiritual power. In Guan's words, this was also a kind of practice. The flying snow was like heavy rain, and it fell for a full half a day before it stopped. Guan stood in front of the wooden fence, looking at the herbs he planted. None of them had any problems, which made him smile. After looking for a while, Guan glanced at the entrance of the valley, and saw a man wearing a rain hat and a straw raincoat coming over, carrying a long spear wrapped in cloth on his back. Luo Hun, 8th level of Jindan Realm 66/400/2803, the maximum lifespan of 2,800 years. Not easy. Guan immediately walked over and came to Luo Hun, clasping his fists and saluting. He was about to ask, but the other party asked first, "Who is the Valley Master Guan?" Luo Hun's voice sounded a little young, but full of energy. Guan replied, "I am. Who are you?" Luo Hun looked up, and a handsome face was revealed under the rain hat, but there was a brand on his left cheek, engraved with the word prisoner. "His Majesty asked me to come. Give you 1 hour to prepare, and then follow me." Luo Hun said expressionlessly. After that, he brushed shoulders with Guan and walked into the valley. Guan's eyes flashed with joy when he heard it, "Finally here." He wanted to see how big the medicine valley prepared by Li Xiandao was. He immediately went to find Wu Xian, who had already become the eldest disciple of Xian Valley and could manage the entire valley. The so-called eldest disciple is a position, not necessarily the disciple of the valley master, just like the eldest disciple of Taixian sect, who has the strongest strength, but is not the disciple of the sect master. hearing that Guan was going to leave for a while, Wu Xian was very excited. Guan couldn't help but give him a few more instructions, especially that the herbs had to be left for him to pick personally when he came back. Wu Xian knew that his senior brother didn't have many hobbies, picking was one of them, and he promised that he would never pick them without permission. Luo Han came to Yi Yan's side, and Yi Yan was swinging a long stick, practicing the family stick method. Seeing Luo Han coming, Yi Yan hurriedly stopped and looked at him nervously. Luo Han took out a secret book from his arms, threw it to him, and said, "You have good roots, you can practice." Yi Yan took the secret book and answered, "But I only have mixed spiritual roots." Spiritual roots only define the qualifications for qi cultivation. People have other qualifications. Your roots are good, stronger than ordinary people. You are a good seedling for spear training. When you practice, you can go to Zhangzhou to join the army, establish merits, and then exchange for natural materials and treasures, cleanse your tendons and marrow, and change your fate. Luo Han's words excited Yi Yan, and he hurriedly thanked him. Luo Han nodded slightly, and then walked to other places. He wandered around the medicine valley and observed the medicinal herbs planted here. After an incense stick of time, Guan found him and said that he could leave. Luo Han raised his hand to take out the spear behind him. A golden spear fell into his hand, attracting the disciples in the valley to look up. Good pretending. Guan secretly complained. Luo Han leaped up, stepped on the spear in the air, glanced at Guan on the snow, and said, "Come up." Guan immediately jumped up, landed behind him, and stepped on the spear. Luo Han urged his spiritual power, and the spear took them away, leaping over the mountain, and drew a long line in the white snowy sky. The disciples in the valley gathered together, curiously discussing Luo Han's identity. The sky was cold, and Guan's black hair was blown back, revealing a fair and handsome face. "Not bad, you have a fine control of spiritual power, and you stand very steadily." Luo Han's voice sounded. He turned his back to Guan, and his tone was a little appreciative. Guan casually replied, "I like sword riding skills, so I studied it. Although your cultivation is very low, you must have something special to be valued by His Majesty. When you get to the Medicine Valley, go ahead and do it. I will protect the safety of the Medicine Valley." Luo Han began to talk about the Medicine Valley, and Guan listened carefully. According to Luo Han, the Medicine Valley is very important to His Majesty. His Majesty will train a group of geniuses in the Medicine Valley for future use. If Guan performs well, he can also get a batch of precious herbs. Guan can feel that Luo Han respects Li Xiandao from the bottom of his heart, which makes him interested in the word prisoner on Luo Han's face. Li Xiandao's Medicine Valley is called Tianya Valley. Although it is near Taishan Gate, it is thousands of miles away from Xian Valley and is located in a mountain where monsters are rampant. Guan proposed to build a teleportation formation in Tianya Valley to facilitate the connection to his Xian Valley, but was rejected by Luo Han, who said that the existence of Tianya Valley should not be known by Taishan Gate. This made Guan want to complain, "You are already near Taishan Gate, and you still want to hide it?" But he thought of Buying Cave Heaven. Maybe Li Xiandao arranged a high-level formation, in order to take care of Guan. Luo Han's flying speed was not fast. After nightfall, he was still flying. Guan noticed that the mountains and forests in this area were filled with demonic energy, and there were even demons that were not inferior to the Jindan realm. Sure enough. Suddenly, a third-level demon bird pounced from behind, and Luo Han punched it, and his spiritual power condensed into a golden spear shadow, directly tearing the demon bird into pieces, and also took its demon pill into his hand. After this move, no monster dared to stop them. Until the next morning, Guan finally saw Tianya Valley. The land and mountains in front were shrouded in white snow fog. There was a white snow vortex between the mountains. Under the sunlight, there were white cranes circling inside, beautiful as a fairyland. Guan's eyes passed through the snow and mist and saw Tianya Valley. His face turned strange. Tianya Valley is located between the mountains. It is indeed twice as large as Xian Valley in terms of area. There are stone tablets standing on the mountains on all sides. It is obviously some kind of formation, but it has not been activated yet. The terrible thing is that the valley is full of weeds. It is too primitive. In other words, he has to open up the wasteland first. Guan couldn't help asking, are there only you and me in Tianya Valley for the time being? Luo Han looked forward and began to let the spear fly down. He replied, don't worry, I will go to the nearby area to catch a few monsters to help you. This valley cannot recruit people casually. You have to wait for His Majesty to send people.